Gaetano. It's good to
What's up,
see
bud?
you. Good to
What's going
see
on?
you.
How's everything, man?
Guy, I'm gonna ask you the question that the whole world has been asking me. The whole fucking world has been asking me this question.
How?
Why did Guy leave the podcast? No, I'm just joking. I don't. uh you know how many fucking times I got, where's Guy? Where's Guy? Where's Guy? I'm like, fucking, you know what? When the
I
time
get
is
it.
right, when the time is right, Guy is back.
That was right.
So Guy
I
is
mean, it's
back.
it's it's odd how it happened because I didn't ask permission or I just posted that video and I was like I don't know if anybody's gonna be mad or whatever, but I just got to the point, man, where like we don't have. I mean, me and you had our discussion about like shit before, but um, there's that shit with you really fucking made me pissed, and I was like, there's a lot of fucking people
What are you
in this
talking about? What are you talking about?
where somebody reposted and came at you for sticking up for your friend.
Oh, well, you know what? But can I just say something? People are very, very, I think it's very hard for people to have a nuanced perspective on things. You're either for or against.
Mhm.
And I think a situation like this is not that simple.
Yep.
First of all, nobody's seen the footage,
Yep.
the full footage. They've only seen what was edited and put out. And second of all, even if you did see the footage, and even if, let's say Mike is 100% wrong,
Yep.
it's still a nuanced position because I'm not going to walk away from my friend with the way people, because when I put out that message, people were messaging me off the hook. They're like, you got to stop talking to Mike. You got to
I
get him
still
off the
can't find
podcast.
this, by the way. I have no idea where this is.
Go to the homepage, just go back to home and you should be able to see a live thing. Um, so yeah, when I put out that message, it was more just to say nothing. Click on the live tab. See if something comes up there.
Oh,
Is there
two
something there?
small meatballs and hummus. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
too small.
Fucking title
Anyway,
I gotta mute this now.
anyway, the thing I was trying to say in my video was just that, look, people make mistakes. I've made mistakes in my life. Everybody's make mistakes. I'm not gonna be like the crowd and the mob and turn on my friend. That's all I was saying.
Yeah.
And people took it as me supporting the whole thing. And I'm like, look, I don't know who's right. I don't know who's wrong. The police are going to deal with that.
Yep.
Obviously, the police were called. I'm not his dad. I'm not his employer. I'm not. It's not up to me to pass judgment on my friend.
Yep.
I don't pass judgment on my friends. I try and like support them and let them know what I think behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. People are like, "Oh, you got to put out a public statement." I'm like, "No, I don't."
No,
right.
for what?
Me,
Why do
me
you have
and
to?
me and Mike are friends outside of social media. We're not just social media friends. So if I have something to say to Mike, I call him and tell him personally. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
I don't go make a podcast like, like Antoine went and did a podcast with Quint. And I'm like, in my mind, I was thinking Antoine is friends with Mike. Why is he doing a podcast? Why does he just call Mike and go, "Hey man, I don't think that was right."
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
like we're supposed to be men. We're supposed to be men, number
So
one.
that's exactly
And,
what.
we're supposed to be friends.
Yeah.
So it's like, if we're friends, you don't go make a podcast about your friend and admonish him and condemn him publicly. You gotta call him behind the scenes and go, "Hey man, I don't know how you're feeling. Like, this is what I think."
Yep. And
So
like when I saw your video, then I saw the slack you were getting, and I was in my fucking kitchen, and I was like, "What are we doing?" I'm like, "What?" Like this, the fact that like, not that it took a push to like, be. I just, I was like, man, like some of the guys that I used to talk to, like, we didn't hate each other, but I was like, man, like I miss talking to these guys, and then I saw you getting attacked. And I was like, man, I don't know if I want to get involved. I go, but and then I just started seeing the comments and I was like, you know what, man? I go, he's being a fucking friend. I go, and if that's who he is, I go, he's gonna stand by him. I go, and he's not wrong. So I put out my statement, and then after I put it out, I was just like, I want that's why, we ended texting and we called each other, but it just yeah, man, I feel like there's a lot of hate going on. And then, with the Matt Jensen stuff, the Nick Walker stuff, like I just got to the point where I opened Instagram and I'm like, there's so much goddamn negativity. And
yeah,
people can say what they want about me and my mouth and how I talk, but like we're all in the same fucking fitness vertical, man. Like we're all just like trying to get the same thing, be successful in our own separate way. And I was like, there's no reason for me and people in my past to not talk and, not have a good time because, life's short, man. I mean, it's been almost 2 years since I've done a live or even a podcast with you. Like we're 2 years older, 2 years closer to fucking being dead. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Whatever the grudges and the stupid shit that happened, it's done. It's behind us. But like, to see Mike get attacked for pushing somebody, and that's what drove me nuts. If he fucking beat the shit out of him and jumped on top of him and pounded his fucking face in when the kid was standing there, yeah, I probably wouldn't have said anything. But
I want to address Shack It Up. Shack It Up has been like in here just running his mouth. He said, if you're and I've heard this a million times, if you're a good friend, call him on his bullshit. I just stated, and for those people, I will state again, I don't have to publicly give my position.
Yes.
And I don't have to publicly condemn Mike or say what Mike did was wrong. If I think it's wrong, I don't have to say any of that shit. I can call Mike and talk to him personally. It's not this whole thing. I put a thing about cancel culture and people are like, oh, it's not true. And I'm like, listen,
crazy.
The fact that he did something is not part of the cancel culture. He did something. He has to be accountable to it, whether it's by the law or by his employer or whatever. The cancel culture aspect is this. All of the people that are playing like high and mighty and on their moral high ground, you're only allowed to do that if you've been a perfect person your whole life.
Agreed.
Everybody that I know anyways has a friend or they themselves has done something fucking wrong.
Yep.
And you don't just walk away. You don't just walk away from your friend. You pull your buddy aside and you go, that was fucking stupid. Like, Paul, how many times have you pulled me aside and said, hey man, you probably shouldn't have done that?
Oh, what? Over the years?
But you don't, but you're still my best friend.
Heck yeah. I mean, it's not like you didn't like rape a baby, or
dude, first of all, this guy just said, I have to address this. He goes, would you support your friend if he solicited a minor? That's not even the same fucking category.
You know who said it? I watched, it's funny.
I watched. Stupid. That's so stupid.
That's the thing with these people. They get ridiculous with it. It's like,
because they want to try to prove a point. So they'll go so far in one direction and be like, well, if you wouldn't do it then, why are you doing it now? They're going to try to get you.
I know, but the problem is that I think they're saying it because Jeff is a smaller guy. Jeff is a 30-year-old man.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeff's not a minor.
Yeah, nobody feels bad for picking on me, and I'm a midget.
Yeah. That's because you run your mouth a lot. It's different.
I get picked on here every week. No one sticks up for me.
Jeff is not a minor. Jeff is not a woman. Jeff is not a fucking animal. He's completely capable of making a man's decision.
Right.
And it's like, I'm not blaming him for anything. Like, he obviously got pushed and that's not right, but like, he's a grown man. Like, it's not like Mike shoved a fucking 6-year-old.
Right. Yeah. And to your point, Fouad, if I know there's like, I mean, whatever, like you said, Mike did what he did wasn't, whatever. I wouldn't have done that. I'm not saying it was right what he did, but like, if I'm a guy at the gym and I know there's this guy who's twice my size, who's probably doesn't like me, and he's probably a lot tougher than me, I'm not going to go approach him with my cameraman and be like, hey, let's talk about this. I'm going to stay out of his way, or I'm going to maybe send him a message saying, hey man, I got no problem with you, whatever, but I'm not going to approach him with a camera, which is
this guy Fouad cares so much he defends his clown over his friend's livelihood. When hostile,
you guys, he's not.
Wait. Let me finish. When hostile takes a hit, this is the cancel culture part. They're like, people want to let's boycott hostile. First of all, I wasn't even involved in the fucking situation, so I don't know why anybody would boycott hostile. Second of all, then they're like, let's boycott Mike, let's boycott Wicked, let's boycott. Those boycotts are all part of cancel culture. It's like the only people that hold Mike accountable are the fucking police or his employers. And these people online, I feel like, look, there's only two scenarios here that are real. Yeah. Either you grew up in the most sheltered home ever, and never ever were in a fight, an altercation, never went to a bar and saw somebody fight. Like, either that's the scenario, in which case you're allowed to say all these things, or the other scenario is it's manufactured outrage.
Yeah.
You saw somebody push somebody else, and you see a whole bunch of people piling on. So you're like, oh, I'm going to pile on also and give my opinion.
Yes.
And then people, like you said, Guy, are doing absurd things like saying, well, what if he killed him? I'm like, he didn't.
I know.
He didn't. He didn't. Like, let's deal with the facts at hand. He pushed him, which is wrong, but he didn't kill him.
I
He
think
didn't.
if
We've
Mike
all
wanted to hurt
pushed
him,
another. If you haven't pushed a man, then you need to go get into a fight.
right? I think
Just
if
to
Mike
say
wanted
you've gotten
to
into
hurt
a fight.
I think for us, I think for the three of us too, we've all worked in bars.
Yep.
We were all bouncers at one point. So, pushing, shoving, altercations are not a big deal. Again,
Thing.
I'm
It
not
happens.
I'm not saying it's normal to do in a gym. I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm just saying like this is gone way beyond what like a shove.
Yeah, like I said in the video, you guys
Like
act
you
like
have to,
the family and shot a dog.
you know what's
What?
funny? It's like you know what Nate you know what what's the fucking scientist? Lane Norton.
Yeah.
Yep.
When Lane Norton's talking about different poisons or different toxic materials, he always says the amount, the dose is dependent on the toxicity.
Yep.
This is the same thing. It's like your outrage has to match the act.
right?
Yeah.
The outrage I'm seeing is if like he fucking killed some small child.
Exactly. Which is
It's
blowing
like
my mind.
that's why I keep going back to the cancel culture thing, because it doesn't feel like real outrage. It's like
Yeah.
I look at people online, I see like Greg Doucette making videos that are getting 1 million views. I'm like,
He's an idiot.
does Greg Doucette really care about
Mike worked.
Jeff? Does he really care about Jeff Nippert, or does he just know that this is going to get 1 million views?
Yeah.
And that's what a lot
The guy from Muscle Discord making video after video. Mike should be in jail for 5 years or should be banned from
He got,
expos.
like, I don't know, that panel, one of the guys thought I singled him out. I said, bro, I don't know any of you guys. All I'm saying is that you posted the clip, and right in the beginning of the clip, it was somebody going, oh, if he's my fucking friend, then I'm going to, and I was like, he was like mocking you. So I was like, I don't like how you guys came at Fouad. And I was like, and I know Lee didn't say anything negative. Lee stuck up for you on that. But it was like, I'm like, my issue is that a grown man pushed another grown man and other men are doing videos about it. Like it's a big fucking deal. It's fucking corny. Is that all you guys have to fucking do is say you're a journalist and report on a shove in a gym? Like grow the fuck up. You guys are losers. You're losers.
JT says, bro, 1 foot to the right and Jeff might have been dead. Do you see do you see the weight rack next to him? And I'm like, I could get on my motorcycle tomorrow and die in a car accident.
Right.
We're dealing with what happened. We're not dealing with what could have happened. You don't get charged when you go to court and you get charged. You don't get charged with what could have happened. You get charged with what happened.
Yes.
So
should Mike have? Mike's a big guy. Should Mike have just pushed him? Because we could all see from the footage or from that video how big Mike is. Mike, Mike could have. If Mike punched him, he could have killed him. He shoved him. Should he have done it? Probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. But he didn't fucking kill anybody. His head didn't hit anything. He is okay. So much okay that he can take a selfie in the emergency room. Like, and then go to the cops over a shove. Like,
wait a second.
So say 20 years ago, this one got investigated.
Wait a second. These two, Kane and Jackal, say stop trying to justify assault. Don't defend his behavior. I don't think people are listening to the nuance in the conversation. It's like,
because you're idiots.
We've already said multiple times that it's assault. Like, regardless of how you look at it, it's going to be like he got charged. Yeah, like, but that doesn't mean we can't discuss the other aspects of it.
Right.
Yeah. So you can people are acting like assault is they're generalizing assault like getting shot, stabbed, beat with the nightstick, hit with the brick, and pushed are all the same things. Like it's not. It's in the same umbrella technically, but they're not the same in my eyes.
And if Mike's intention was to hurt him, he could have hurt him
easily.
You know, like I like, you know, I guess all the what ifs, what if this, what if that, but none of that stuff happened. So let's just let's just deal with what actually happened. That he pushed him.
Big B, thank you for your donation. Says these influencers are so cringe, including Jeff. The fitness industry is so upside down. Bottom line, this country is so messed up. Do not support the antagonists. Let's get back to bodybuilding. Yes, we are going to do that. I just listen. You know, the part that bothers me the most about this is I started this podcast so that we could
community.
yeah, bring bodybuilding together. And I think for the most part, we've done that. I think people that watch this channel feel like they're part of a bodybuilding community. They enjoy the entertainment of it and stuff. Maybe I will take blame that maybe we go a little too hard on the science-based community sometimes because I'm a little bit more old school. And maybe that's not the best thing in the
But
world to
you
do.
don't do it disrespectfully. It's okay to fucking argue and have like educational bickering matches.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't want to be part of the problem. So like,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is like this podcast is not meant to be part of the drama. Like there are channels out there you want to talk about Greg Doucette, you want to talk about some of these newer channels or Nick Trigili's old channel that like they just they want to ride the drama. Like that's fine. That's their channels. That's how they make money. That's not what like this channel is supposed to be about. The only reason we're talking about this is because it's one of my best friends and one of our closest friends. So we're trying to talk about it and just kind of get to the bottom of it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
There's something else that's been turning me off that I've seen. I'm not going to mention anybody's names, but I've seen some people online making these videos like all this negativity in bodybuilding. I'm not going to do any more podcasts if they're going to be negative. I'm only going to do positive things. These are the same people who've gone on these podcasts that do nothing but bash people.
I agree with that.
So
I agree
that's
with that.
critical. I mean, like now you take the high road because because this is popular right now.
No, you're right, and I see that. It's funny because there are like, for example, like the Muscle Discord guy.
Yeah.
This guy, he's said Mike should be banned from IFBB events for 5 years. Okay.
And he even by the way,
can I just touch on that real quick?
They even reposted Greg.
This is not. Yeah, but I'll just touch on that for 1 second. This had nothing to do with the IFBB.
Right, nothing.
Like I think this guy just like pulls shit out of his ass so people watch his channel. I don't know, but there's laws in place. Like he got fired from his job because it happened at his workplace.
Right.
You can't be like, well, he should be fired from everywhere.
Right.
You fucking,
go to jail.
Are you fucking retarded? He's like, he should go to jail for 2 years. He should fucking be banned from IFBB for 5. Like, you must be fucking retarded.
People that drink and drive get less.
No. This Muscle Discord fucking guy must have lived the most sheltered life in fucking history. If he thinks that he should be banned for 5 years and go to jail for 2. Have you ever fucking talked to anybody who's gone to jail? I sat in a courtroom 2 months ago, sticking up for somebody very, very close to me that had a list of fucking charges, and they weren't going to go to jail for 2 years. Okay. This is a fucking list. I'm talking a list. And they weren't going to go to jail for 2 years. Mike shoves somebody, and this fucking clown is like, he should go to jail for 2 years. This is not going to.
People that drink and drive and put everybody's life at risk when they're behind the wheel, literally, they get a fine the first time.
Yeah. Listen, again, I just want to say this again. I'm not saying it's okay, but you have to be measured in your fucking response. It's not black and white. It's not like, well, he's charged, so he should be charged like a murderer. No, he's charged. He's charged, and the police and the lawyers and whatever are going to fucking deal with it.
Right.
And whatever actually happened, like when the actual footage from the gym is shown in court, the judge will make the decision. But I guarantee you, it's not going to jail for 2 years. And I also guarantee you, the IFBB is not going to fucking ban him for 5 years because it had nothing to do with the IFBB.
He's not an active pro. He doesn't go to IFBB shows.
Yeah. But it's like, what the fuck is wrong with it? It's like, and again, and I kind of even feel stupid for talking about it because that's all this guy wants is he's like, I'm gonna say the most outrageous thing possible so that people watch my channel. But that goes to what you said, Paul, is when other pros see this and they see people talking like this, why are you going on that guy's channel to support it?
Right.
Yeah. Because it's only a matter of time until you do something wrong, and then that video is made about you.
Right. Yeah. You just be
that, dude. You just hit the nail on the head. If you can't judge others by what they do, especially if you've done the same thing. So, like, for me, you, Paul, anybody in this fucking chat that's leaving comments, if any of you have ever been in a fight and put your hands on somebody, or have a friend that has put their hands on somebody or done something stupid, my point is we're all in the same boat. So for it to happen one time, there were bodybuilders that have gotten knocked out at expos. Didn't Bradley Martin just smack the shit out of somebody in the gym? Like, didn't that just happen?
Dude, yeah. I remember one of our close friends smacked the fuck out of somebody at an expo. This is before social media. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hutch,
And everybody loved him for it. They're like, yeah,
yes.
that kid fucking deserved it.
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Like, I mean, but Bradley Martin's awesome. I think he's great. He smacked the shit out of somebody for grabbing his hat off his head. I mean,
yeah, I saw that.
And he smacked him fucking hard. I'd rather take Mike's push over fucking Bradley's slap. Right.
Well, I agree. And you know what the problem is too? I think it's optics. I think Mike has a channel where he's very outspoken and, he's rough around the edges and he's got tattoos fucking everywhere. And Jeff Nippert is this very, very quiet, nice.
And I follow Jeff. I think he's
I've had
no
Jeff.
Problem with Jeff.
I've had Jeff on my podcast. I also have no problem.
I think he's a good kid.
But I think the optics of the big, giant, badass tattooed guy shoving the smaller, innocent. It's not only that it might be wrong, but it looks extremely bad.
It looks horrible.
It's not like Bradley Martin smacking that kid, even though Bradley Martin was way bigger than that kid.
Yeah.
But I think Bradley maybe is just not as scary. He doesn't have tattoos everywhere. I don't know why that kind of went over everybody's head and didn't seem like a problem. Maybe it's because Jeff is so popular that it got a lot of traction. I don't know.
I think you're right. I think some of it is the big bully versus a little nerd kind of thing that people are playing out in their heads.
Yeah, like David and Goliath. But Goliath won this one.
Yeah, Mike's a scary looking guy, no question.
Yeah.
And Jeff's
but also he is a scary looking guy. So why would you go over to him?
That's what I'm saying, with a camera.
And if you brought the camera, why did you bring the camera? Did you bring the camera for your protection? And if you thought you needed protection, why did you go over there in the first place?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, so obviously you thought there's a possibility that me approaching him might lead to something. That's why I brought my cameraman. So then approach him.
Like if I thought, like, look, I wouldn't fuck with Mike.
Neither.
No,
if I thought Mike didn't want anything to do with me or didn't like me or whatever, I wouldn't go over to him.
Right.
And I wouldn't bring a camera. And if I brought a camera, it would be for my protection. And if I thought I needed protection, again, back to point A, I wouldn't go over there in the first place. So it's like I don't get it.
20 years ago in the gyms, exactly. Like if you knew a big guy there didn't like you, you stayed the fuck away from that big guy. You didn't fucking,
And again, we have to say, like, it doesn't give Mike
the right to push anybody.
The right to put, but you can't go over to somebody if he fucking don't like you, because not everybody acts the same way. Some people have tempers. Some people were raised differently. Yep. Some people have different.
And if you want to, first of all, and if you and somebody aren't vibing anyway, and you guys are having issues, and even if you wanted to get him on camera, you go up to him without the camera, say, "Hey, I want to get you on camera. Would you mind talking? I don't want to just come up to you because I know we're not, we've been bumping heads lately. Like, you don't just do it live and just totally violate somebody's privacy. Now, like everybody's going to go back to the thing, right? Of he shouldn't have pushed them. He shouldn't have put his hands on somebody. Okay, with that. Nobody should ever put their hands on somebody for no reason. We all agree on that. That is a universal understanding that we all understand. However, if somebody puts themselves in a situation to get their hands put on them when that could have been avoided, then there's also that aspect too.
Right.
So people don't understand. If he went up to him, their video shows 3 seconds. That security video, I'm sure, is way longer than 3 seconds. So from what I've heard from people that were either there or saw something, was that he did walk to Mike with his camera.
Right.
And that's a fact. There was a point where Jeff could have not went anywhere and just stayed where the fuck he was. Now, again, everybody's going to go back to, but he shouldn't have pushed them. Okay. Jeff also shouldn't have approached him, because if Jeff never approached him, the push would have never happened.
Right.
No, it doesn't make a little sense. And I don't know if that's going to be up to a judge to decide. Like,
I agree.
Right.
Right. And not us. That's the thing. Not us and not social media. And again, that's why I keep going back to the cancel culture thing, because people are just jumping on board without knowing the whole story and without waiting for, what it reminds me of? Remember Sean Roden got charged with rape.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, guy, you're the godfather to his daughter.
Yep.
Sean Roden got charged with rape. He didn't get convicted of rape. He got charged with rape.
Yep.
And everybody just went with it.
Yep.
Yep.
And he got
He got dropped from fucking
he got banned.
sponsors.
He got banned from the IFBB.
Yep.
He got dropped from sponsors, but he never got convicted.
Nope.
It was a charge.
Yep.
And his
So
friend
it's
didn't.
like, and I think that's what people are doing now. It's like, look, we don't know the whole story. You
Right.
saw one clip. The judge hasn't made a decision. He's been charged. And again, it doesn't make it right that he pushed him, but at the same time, it's like Guy said, it's like, what was the
Listen,
press?
if Mike was
What
here-
happened before? What happened before the push?
If
Right.
Mike was on one side of the gym and Jeff was on the other, and Mike fucking just sprinted and fucking just more like pushed him, I'd be like, that's a dickhead thing to do.
Right.
If somebody walked up to somebody and there was words and he was like, just get the fuck out of here, like that's a lot less malicious and like violent than the other way. So my point is this: nobody knows what happened. I was told stuff. You were told stuff. These people that think they know were told stuff or saying what they think is the truth. Like when the full footage comes out, if it ever does, then we'll get it. Until then, like, so let's stop jumping to conclusions. Like, I'm not blaming Jeff and I'm not blaming Mike. I think they both were at fault for this happening. I think it could have been avoided, and Jeff should have never went up to him, and Mike should have never pushed him. But it's like chicken or the egg. Jeff never went up. Mike would have never pushed.
Right.
Yeah. And then
Yep.
I don't know. I kind of feel like it's look, Mike, people are like, why hasn't Mike said anything? And I'm like, because it's an active investigation. That's why.
Right. Legal.
Yeah. So it seems kind of strange that like Jeff is putting out all this information. I'm like, if there's an active investigation, why is Jeff putting out all this? You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be putting out all these things. You shouldn't be taking pictures at the hospital, blah, blah, blah. Like,
Right. Yeah. I mean,
and I
you-
don't want to touch on the hospital photo, but I'm like, is
Yeah.
that a photo? Like,
So, I said it in my post. If I got pushed to the ground by a man and I fell on my hiney, okay,
my
I went- my hiney, because I want to make this.
Who calls it a
yeah.
hiney?
I want this to sound as soft as humanly possible. So I'm just going to use every stupid word I get. So if a man lightly brushed my throat and I fell and my hiney hit the ground and I went to the emergency room and I took a selfie about to get a CT scan,
right.
and I called my dad and was like, hey, I was at the gym. Some dude pushed me. I fell on my ass, but I went to the ER because I'm filing charges because he pushed me. My dad would go, grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, now, if Mike pushed him and he smacked his fucking head and he's got damage or he fucking herniated a disc because something, like, okay, then that sucks. Like, it makes it even worse for somebody pushing somebody. Like, but at the end of the day, when you press charges, go to the ER, take a picture. If he took a picture at the ER and nobody knew about it, that would give me a different perspective of the whole situation, because I'd be like, okay. But now it's almost like he's doing it for like a social media plug to start making it look like all this stuff. He's getting so much traction now. It's insane.
For sure.
And there's no need to post that you're in the ER getting a fucking CT scan because you got pushed. Like, and I have no problem with Jeff. I think he's a good kid. That to me sounds really stupid. And it seems like you're just kind of fluffing this a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's it's a generational thing largely too. Like we're all, you guys are over 40, I'm over 50. You didn't call the police. You didn't go to the hospital to get your neck checked out. You didn't make a social media post. You took it like a man. And if you wanted to get back to the guy, maybe you started boxing or something to make sure this didn't happen to you again in the future. But you didn't react like this.
The only time I've ever been in the hospital after a fight was when I actually had to get stitches.
Right.
I got in a fight once where I had to get like, I don't know, fucking 6 stitches here or something like that. That's the only time.
Right.
And it's like, and I'm not saying, you want to go to the hospital, that's fine. You want to get checked, whatever. But why post a photo on Instagram? Like, are you trying to, are you trying to get more, like, you want people to feel sorry for you even more? Like, it's not necessary. Like, people already know what happened. Now you're just kind of milking it. It's like, what are you doing? Why?
This is the way I described that. Posting the picture in the CT scan, maybe this is a bad comparison. This is how I looked at it. It's the same as, like, I feel like people that go to a hospital and they like take a picture of their like dying grandparent. Like, while they're almost, and they're like, my
feel
last
sorry
picture.
for me. Yeah.
And I'm like, why is that the picture you post?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that
like people will post their dying relative, family member in a bed holding their hand, dying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the one you post. And they post it because they know that kind of post will get more traction, more likes, more comments. And if anybody, nobody is going to move my stance on that.
I agree with you.
I see, I have young daughters who, like this TikTok generation, it's popular on there to talk about how sad you are today because you got likes for, you get a lot of people, oh, you okay? I'm not from that generation. You're depressed. Like, shut up.
But it's also it's also really popular. It's also really popular just to hate.
Yes.
Like if you look at the channels I described earlier, if you go take a look. Just go take a we should do it here. If you go
ahead.
take watch.
Go ahead.
Let's play this little game here. I'm gonna go to Greg Doucette.
You know what? Like Greg bashed Nick too, and I how the fuck is somebody like that gonna bash Nick? Who the guy has a physique of a 15-year-old swimmer.
I'm not gonna go to the page. I want people to just go to some of these pages. I want you to go down the list and read the titles of the videos. Read just do yourself a favor. Just go to these channels and read the titles of each. Go click on videos and then read the titles of each of the videos. I guarantee you 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 of the fucking titles are all shitting on somebody.
Yep.
And it's like what the fuck? And then they have the balls to go, yeah, the fucking bodybuilding community's just, they're all fucking drama. It's like, dude, read the titles to your fucking videos.
Yeah.
I saw someone made a post the other day. I forget what his name is on. So he's got a big social media following though. And he said, people have been asking me to post or to comment on this situation. He's like, I'm not going to. He's like, I'm not going to climb this story just to get views. He's like, it's already been talked about. I got nothing to add.
Right.
And I thought that was really cool to say. Just like, I'm not gonna just try to get.
Well, I saw Manager Matt's comment too. He's like,
oh, I didn't even say on what
Manager Matt commented on your post.
Oh, I didn't even read them all. I didn't get a chance.
Manager Matt commented on your post, and he said, if I got canceled every time I shoved somebody, I would have been canceled 100 times by now.
Right.
Yeah.
and then he said, to me, this is a non-story. And someone said, well, you don't think violence is a story? He said, no.
I don't think it's violent.
He said, I'm not agreeing with violence. He said, I'm saying it's a push and it happens all the time. It's a non-story.
Yes.
Which it's kind of true. Like,
why is it important that Jeff got pushed? Is it important because he has 2 million followers? Because the guy at Walmart today that just got pushed because he would do an argument with an employee, nobody gives a fuck about that one. Point is that if everybody got in arms about a push, that's all fucking we would see all day, because there's people being pushed constantly because people people get in arguments, people shove each other, people fight. It happens. Like whoop-de fucking do. Nobody died. Nobody shot anybody. Nobody got stabbed. He got pushed.
I gotta read some of these comments. Yes, Paul.
You remember that story a long time ago? It's not a bad story. I hope you don't mind me telling it. When I got to work one day and someone's like,
you can't take it back because we're live, Paul. So just be prepared.
Well, you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what story you're talking about, but go ahead. I've done a lot of bad things in my life, so I can admit them.
It's not that bad. I got to work one day. One of my friends is like, hey, I saw this big guy, this huge bodybuilder.
I know the story you're going to tell.
He's like, I was stuck in traffic on the highway today, and I saw this massive bodybuilder throw some guy, like push him. And the guy went flying. And he's like, I was like, massive bodybuilder. I must know the guy. This is Windsor, So I call Fouad. I'm like, did you get into an argument today by chance? He's like, yeah, I pushed this guy on the side of the highway. And I was like, oh, one of my friends at work saw it. The story was, you and the guy got out of your cars. You got into a bit of an argument. You pushed him. The guy, I think you guys just sat there afterwards, and you were like, hey, I shouldn't have pushed him. He was like, yeah, I shouldn't have cut you off. And you both went on your way.
That's exactly.
Is that really what happened?
I honestly, it was like one of those situations where like one of the lanes was closed and everybody was merging, and he didn't want to let me in, and I kind of forced my way in, and then he started honking at me, shooting me the finger. So we both pulled over to the side of the road, and I got out of the car and I shoved him onto the hood of his car, and then I felt bad. So he got off the hood of his car and he's like, what the fuck? And we started talking, and I was like, why'd you let me in? I was just trying to get in, and we just started and then it was like, it just went away. We were like, I'm like, look, man, I'm sorry I shoved you.
I was like, want to come on my podcast?
I was like, look, man, I shouldn't have shoved you. And he goes, yeah, I probably should have let you in. And it was done. It was it. That was it.
I'm not saying Jeff should have got up and swung. I'm not saying he should have been pushed, but it's like, dude, like it shouldn't have happened. He shouldn't have been pushed. But like, we're making mountains out of molehill. There's way bigger shit to talk about than a shove at a gym. Like, who cares?
I got to read some of these comments. And by the way, I love this guy's name. Fest Azul. Fest Azul. I don't know why. It just comes off. It just rolls off the tongue. Fest Azul donates $4.99. Says he's going to go through the consequences. How can we help him long term? Everyone deserves to pursue inner peace. Fest Azul. The law will deal with the consequences if there is any, and helping him long term is just that's his own. There's nothing to help him long term with. Some people have a Some people have a temper. He's just gonna control it, and that's it. Like Mike. People. The second part of this is funny. Everyone deserves to pursue inner peace. Listen, this is the crazy thing, and Guy said this to me before we got on the podcast earlier. He was talking to me. Mike has an image online of this very rough, brash, tattoos, I hate the world, and I think it's not that it's fake, but there's a totally other side to Mike that people don't know, and that's why I think people don't understand why I would go to bat for my friend no matter what, because I do know the other side of Mike, and Paul knows the other side of Mike, and guys know Mike longer than both of us.
Yep.
And we all three of us know the other side of Mike, and it's not that guy. He's very insightful. He's always there for his friends. He's always there to help people.
Yeah.
And he made a mistake. And that's it. So you know what? I'm going to go to bat for him because
everybody makes mistakes. That's why.
And because I know who he truly is. Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, like he overreacted to the situation, perhaps.
Yeah.
Like a bad person doesn't make him a criminal. He should go to jail for whatever. He shouldn't lose all of his businesses. And like you said, we know Mike pretty good. Mike's one of the kindest, most loyal friends you'll ever have. Protective. Like I always tell people, the first thing I thought was so cool about Mike talking to him was I think you asked us, like, who's your favorite actor? And he was like, Will Ferrell. And I was like, Will Ferrell? Like, this guy that looks like a fucking like
Paul. I just want to make it known because we talk about him having like a weak moment or overreacting. I overreact 3,000 times a day. I overreact constantly.
Right.
1 second,
part of my
guys.
personality. I just
nobody got
overreact.
At the end of the day, nobody got hurt. I mean, like, it's not that big of a story. Like, if you look at this story in a nutshell, two guys were at the gym, one guy pushed the other guy.
I'm gonna push so many people at my gym today just so these fucking more stories come out.
I think what you said earlier plays a lot into the story, the context, the way Mike looks, the way Jeff looks. I think people
my problem is everybody's putting out the negative context, and regardless if we're friends or not, no, we're not sitting here going, "Yay, Mike, go push everybody."
Right.
We're saying
right.
He shouldn't have pushed somebody, but like, there's also another side, and we're not going to bash him. And there's so many fucking people attacking him. Did you guys really think that his friends aren't going to stick up for him? Like, come on. Like, if you're a real friend, you stick up for fucking your people. Period.
I got to read AC's comment here. Even if he did push him and he is wrong 100%, and he did a dickhead thing, people can still be there for their friend. People make mistakes, and he didn't kill someone or hit a woman. He got in a scuffle.
Yes.
Agreed.
100%.
Guys, we have another guest coming on.
Oh, who is it?
It's funny that this guest is coming on, and I wanted to have him on purpose because of what's going on.
I don't know who it is.
You'll see in a minute. Let's see if there's any other comments here. He sucker throat slammed.
He didn't punch him, you fucking turd.
These people with their
throat slammed. Like if Mike throat slammed him, you'd be able to tell.
That's going to turn into Mike fucking pile drived him into the ground.
And then this guy, he punched him in the throat. I think a punch is with a closed fist.
His hand was like this.
Yeah.
Right. He knew what he was doing. Mike knows what he's doing.
People are really mad that we're calling it a push. I don't know what it is. This guy's calling us bouncer bullies. No, we've just seen a lot of things, and we know what's a big deal and what isn't.
Yep.
This is
Guy and Fouad are clowns. Thank you.
Good.
But they didn't say nothing about me.
No, you're not a clown, Paul. You're just you're innocent bystander. Motherfuckers act like they never lost their temper before. Exactly. Mike fucked up, and defending his actions is crazy. Nobody's defending his actions.
Nobody's defending his actions yet.
Obviously aren't listening. This guy Can't admit Fat Mike was wrong. First of all, he's not fat, so take that back.
Really.
Let's see what else we got here.
Isn't it amazing that some people actually think like this?
Yeah. Yeah. And they just
This
have
guy
to.
says, get the fuck off live. You're not going to help Mike's case by discussing this on a public platform. I'm not Mike's fucking lawyer. I can discuss
Really?
whatever
The
I
judge
want.
isn't going to watch this? Damn it. I thought
This guy let his lawyer do the talking. I work in law enforcement. Trust me, this is not a good look. Mike is not on this podcast. This is my platform. And we're talking about what happened. This has nothing to do with Mike's case or anything else. So I don't know what you're talking about.
And there's been 1,000 other podcasts about it already too.
I know.
And being a cop, I hope you realize how ridiculous a man pushing another man is.
Yeah. Most aggressive Canadian road rage incident. LOL. It might have been. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. It probably was Canadian, right? Because I got out and shoved him, and then we both said sorry to each other and moved on with our life.
Why, is that like what you guys do?
No, but he's saying like because Canadians are so polite. Like I got out and shoved him, and then we end up making up like before we left.
Hey, Fouad, you tell me too. The guy he was Lebanese too. You're like we both just like to argue.
I don't remember that. Maybe that's true. I don't remember that. Let's see what else.
See, somebody right there. Somebody just said this.
What?
Grown men will be grown men. Get over it and have a fucking beer. Like,
yeah,
Amen.
There it is.
Amen.
And I bet you at some point, and I don't know if this is like wishful thinking or whatever, but I bet you at some point Jeff and Mike will be fine.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. I don't think Mike.
I don't know if anybody in the comment section has ever been in a fight, but honestly, I've gotten in a fight with guys, and then I've actually been closer with them afterwards.
Yeah. I've gotten into with every one of my close friends. I've been into a screaming match where it probably could have turned into a scuffle at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Wait. This guy, I want to know what this guy means. Your logic is flawed. Jeff had every right to approach him. Why did Jeff? Okay. Let me touch on that. I don't think. No. I'm trying to figure.
I know because this is such a reach to fucking.
No. He's okay. So, Jeff, you're right. Jeff had every right to approach him, but Jeff also should have expected
the possibilities of what might happen, and that doesn't mean it's okay that Mike did it. But at the same time, if you know somebody doesn't like you and you know they might have a temper, why are you going up to them? And like I said before, if you're going up to them with a camera, you're only doing it for two reasons. Either you know it's going to be really good for social media views, or you're scared. And if you're scared, why are you going over there anyway? Right.
Can I tell you guys a quick story about Mike? So I'm not getting into the backstory, but me and Mike, there was a disagreement between us 2 years ago. And I hadn't talked to him, hadn't texted him. We stopped talking for a little bit. And I was at a gym in Florida, and I was with my business partner at the gym. And I walked in, and Mike was doing cardio with one of his buddies. And my business partner knew, that me and Mike hadn't talked and what went on. So I said, he goes, "You see Mike?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm going to go talk to him." He goes, "Really?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You want me to come with you?" I said, "No." I said, "I'll go talk to him." I said, if something happens, then maybe run over there. But I said, "No, I don't need you." And my point is this. And I went over to Mike. We talked, hugged it out. Fine. Problem is, when I approached Mike, I didn't know if this was going to go really bad or really good, because I'm approaching another grown man and I'm putting myself in his perimeter. And if something goes wrong, I was prepared and understood that if this goes bad and I get my face pounded, I approached him. So you don't get to just approach a grown man, especially with a fucking video camera, just because you think you can. Like, I don't agree with that.
Sorry, guy, to read this comment. Please continue to come back to the pod, guy. We miss you. You were the only one to call Fouad out on his retarded arguments.
Not on this one though. I had to jump in on this one.
All right, one sec. I gotta add our new guest.
Who is it?
Our guest. Hello. Hello. How are you?
Hey, what's up, bud?
How's it going, guys?
Eric, how are you, man?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
I have been known to butcher your name.
That's okay.
So I want to ask you politely and respectfully how to pronounce your last name.
It's Janicki, but I've never cared enough to correct anybody. I used to drive my dad nuts since I played football all the way through college. They'd always say Janicki or Janicki or whatever, and
So
it
I
never
wasn't
bothered me.
So what is it?
I wasn't that far off though. It's Janicki. I said Janicki.
Janicki.
Okay.
I thought the J was silent. I don't know why.
The hard
I mean,
J.
it's because like Polish. It's a Polish surname,
Uh,
so it could be Janicki, Janicki,
Yeah.
Yannick. I mean, like
You could sound Greek, Russian, Polish, German with that name, depending on how you pronounce it.
literally, it's like that with any of these Anglo, waspy names. They could be just about anything because we're all a mix of something.
Yeah, Eric, this is I don't know if you know Paul.
No.
Paul's my best friend, training partner.
I know.
And he's also an IFBB judge at the highest levels.
I thought I was going to get a chance to judge you last year, Eric, at Vancouver, at the pro qualifier, but I didn't get asked to judge that show. But
Bummer. Maybe you may get to push me over the edge, but
yeah, it was
And then obviously you know Guy, I think, right?
Yep.
Not bad.
So Eric, how
Hair fucking slicked back.
Is
what?
my hair
Oh,
slick?
like this, Paul.
Pardon?
Oh,
Are
like
you
this.
saying Paul?
Yeah, Paul.
Paul
Like
has
this.
Paul has no hair. What are you
Got a
talking
little
about?
bit, got a fade right now. Got a little bit.
Is it brushed forward or is it slicked back?
There's no hair
just-
there.
I was just messy. I haven't done nothing with it today yet. I didn't put any of my
Looks like
Moroccan
you did the old just comb right straight back.
Really? No, it's just really thin, guy. It's just the illusion.
Christ.
Go to Turkey.
All right, listen.
Done it a couple times, but I don't think so. It's not for me.
Yeah. Eric, what's going on, man? I wanted to talk to you. There's a lot of shit going on right now with the
Yeah,
the whole Mike and Jeff situation, and I think there was some stuff with us with obviously our shit wasn't bad. We were just talking about training and stuff. So I thought it'd be cool to bring you on and like try and like bridge the gap between the science-based community and the bro community.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
also get to know you a little bit and get to know a little bit about your story and your history and that.
yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I think there has to be some sort of like mending of the fences, so to speak,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, we all love going to the gym. We all love to train and get better and have a good time. That's the biggest thing I always say in all my videos. And I sent you guys a clip of it that I say one of the most important things is that you actually enjoy the way you're training. And I always tell people, don't train like me. Exactly, because it's crazy. Like nobody wants to train like that. Nobody wants to do fucking, leg press with 8, 9, 10 plates and pause at the bottom. Like it's crazy. So it's something that I enjoy. It's just a methodology that I've continued to build upon. But the biggest thing I tell people, implore people upon is that the most important thing is you find something that you can continually come back to, you make progress, and you enjoy checking the box and making your way back to the gym. Because if you're so hyper focused on, oh, am I going to get like a 1%, 2%, 3% incremental like benefit from training in this way, like you're going to get so hyper focused on that, you're going to lose track of why we all started doing this shit in the first place is because we actually
Right.
love to show up and get better and train hard and train with our friends and see progress. So, I really appreciate being on here. I listen to the podcast all the time. I have a huge appreciation for you guys. And I think our little discussion was great because everything stayed above the belt, right? There was
Yeah.
that's why I messaged you like, no, it didn't get nasty. It didn't say like, oh, look at these, like, washed up guys. Everything was talking strictly about the training methodology. It didn't get, personal. And I think that's, if we can keep it like that and we can have informed discussions and learn from each other, because there's always learning. I'm learning every single day. And I
Yeah.
think everybody can stand to have that mindset, is that there's no one perfect way, and then we're all learning as we go. And like think about the knowledge we had 15, 20 years ago versus now versus 40 years ago versus 60 years ago. It's going to continue to progress and evolve, and we just have to be okay with that.
So I like what you said, and that's kind of how like John Meadows taught me that. Because I mean, this is probably before, I don't know how long you've been bodybuilding or competing for, but when I was more in my prime, John started teaching me some of the powerlifting ways and brought them into the bodybuilding world, like using bands, using chains, using these things. So I would do a lot of stuff. I would post a lot of stuff on social media that had to do with bands, and people would attack me the same way they attack you. Oh, guys in the 70s never used bands. This is stupid. Why are you doing it? This doesn't make any sense, because they don't understand the strength curve of using a band versus not using a band. So I would just do it anyway, and I would go with it. So I understand kind of the pushback you get when you're trying something new that hasn't been tried before. I think the problem that I have, or not problem, but I think the question I have is when I see some of the videos that is taking away some of the foundations of bodybuilding, then I'm like, why are we doing that? Because we know these things work. We just want to add to them. Right. So I think the first thing you said that's the most important is you have to do what you love and you have to do what's fun, or otherwise you're not going to do it for a long period of time. But I think the second thing that we all have to start understanding is the old stuff is valuable and the new stuff can be added to it.
Well, you got to learn to adapt too with what
Yeah.
the new knowledge you learn, right?
Right. Right. So how do you feel about that, Eric? Because I have seen, and I don't want to say it was you per se. It might have been Mike Israetel. It might have been, you know, a lot of these YouTube videos just get mashed up in my head and I can't remember who said what, but I have seen things that are like, don't do dumbbell curls anymore, or don't do this anymore. And I'm like, these are tried and tested exercises though, that people have used for years that have worked. And I don't understand, other than trying to monetize a video and get people to click, I don't understand the use for saying that.
I try to be very clear in my videos, even on the screen. If I say like don't do X, I'll say explosive, like, or you know, ego driven. I'll say like ego curls, or like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Cheek curls. And I think that there is some, I think I will stand by that 100%. Like, because I've done that. You know, I've done the, you know, where it's just like, hey, let me lift as heavy as possible.
Right.
You know, a lot of times you're going to be using momentum, ancillary movers, and you're not actually going to be targeting the muscle group that you're trying to actually, you know, drive stimulus to. So I'll
Right.
stand behind that, and I've tried to make it as clear as possible in my videos. And yes, I'm not stupid. Like, I know that that's going to evoke a response, right? If I say, hey, don't do explosive curls, the people are gonna be like, oh, like, you know, I've seen Ronnie, I've seen Jay, I've seen Dorian, I see everybody doing explosive curls. I'm not saying they don't work, and I make sure I say explosive curls. I say in the caption, what I say is there are, in my opinion, ways that we can drive just as much, if not more, acute stimulus into the target muscle group with less injury risk, less fatigue, more ability to recover and get back to your next training session than just being like, hey, how much can I pick up off this dumbbell rack and swing it up to what we would consider enough to be a curl, for
Right.
example.
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
so I totally, I am 100% in agreement with that statement. And what I'm trying to do with my educating is trying to achieve a number of things. Number one is how can we get into the gym and make progress and drive enough stimulus to the muscle group, which we always are going to come back to intensity. That is always going to be our pinnacle driver to hypertrophy. If you're not pushing close to or to failure, you're not doing shit. Like, even I will be pissed off and I'll see people doing the fucking, like, you know, rear delt with like holding on to the fucking pulley with like 4 pounds, and they're like just like, you know, this, or I'll see
Yeah.
people do like the single arm crossbody, like tricep rope, like squeeze with fucking
Yeah.
like 20 pounds. I'm like, dude, like, I'm with you. I'm fucking there. Like, but people don't see
I was
that.
gonna say they're getting that from you though.
But I don't ever show shit like that. What I'm showing, like, that's the thing, is like, I'll never show an exercise that I don't feel like is going to drive enough stimulus to induce an outcome. Like, you'll like, I think that's the biggest misconception, is I'm just putting shit out there that I don't actually do or believe in. And
No, I
that's,
didn't. I don't think that. Sorry, go ahead. I don't think any of us think that you're faking it. But I do want to ask you this question. Sorry to cut you off. I do want to ask you this question. Did you build your base like this? Like you're a big fucking guy. Like what do you weigh? 290, 300 pounds? Like
285.
280? 285. Okay, 285. I met you. You're like got to be 6'1", 6'2".
6'1".
Okay, so you're 6'1", 285. So the question I think a lot of people want to ask, and this is the thing I run into a lot of times. Like, for example, Nick Walker started doing the RP
Yep.
exercise. He started following that methodology. And people were like, well, Nick Walker does RP. And I'm like, yeah, but Nick Walker didn't build that mutant physique with RP. Nick Walker used to do bro exercises and bro lifting. So a lot of that mass was built with traditional exercise. So I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at with you is this massive frame that you've built with all this muscle, was it always done with the RP, if that's what I can call it? Was it always used with that full ROM, perfect form, or did you used to train like a bro?
Yeah, yeah. I think it'd be helpful for me to actually like walk you through my exercise timeline. So I started lifting weights when I was about 11, and I had some tough circumstances as a kid we don't have to get into, but my older brother's friend was like kind of a state level and became a national level power lifter. And so he got me into it, and it was easy for me to palate because it was, something I could take my aggression out on, and it was it was controlled, and I could get in, get out, and it was helping me with being better at football. And that was what I kind of thought I really loved the gym for, is like it was helping me with my performance. And so I lifted in that capacity, but even then I didn't know why, and I didn't know what I was doing, but people would see me in the and I had this mindset where I think it was like I wanted to induce as much punishment as possible. So when I realized, oh fuck, like it really burns bad when I slow down my leg press and I do like a 4 second negative and like a 3 second positive instead of just fucking firing through the weights, or do that for 5 to 8 reps and then blow through 5 or 7 more reps after that with, let's say, more explosive tempo, which is something I still do to this very day. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything about, hypoxicity or why the burn existed or what pump was. I was like, dude, I am not in a good headspace and I want to make this shit hurt as bad as possible. And what I realized was I was getting the most sore. It was hurting the most when I was training in that. Uh-oh, Fuad's
I
dead.
got. I'm still here. I'm still here. Go ahead.
All right.
Battery exhausted.
Dude, I think he's exhausted. Listen,
No, no.
fucking naps.
I have to change.
I think that's his actual battery.
Yeah.
It's like hooked up to his it's like the
That's
main
his chip that he's
hooked
got.
up to his
Back.
fucking head, and he's like, this is like fucking, I'm exhausted. Listen to this
I-
fucking bullshit.
No, no, no. I'm with you. I apologize. Sorry. Go ahead.
He's like,
No,
battery exhausted.
no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, speed up story. I was training that, but I was also doing the fucking bro shit, heavy squats, heavy deadlift, power cleans, because it all, that's more sports performance stuff. But my body like felt the absolute worst after like finishing football, like my shoulders, and it wasn't actually stuff that was like from the game most of the time. It was some game, injuries, but it was also just like training like that for so long, throwing 7 plates on the T-bar, being almost upright, doing more shrugs and rows, to be quite
Right.
honest.
Right.
And then in my 20s, I worked in finance after I graduated college for a few years and still love training. And that's when I kind of realized, oh shit, I was working out this whole time because I love to work out, not because I wanted to be better at football. And so I'd be waking up at 4 in the morning to go to the gym. So I get to my finance job by 7. And that's when I was kind of exploring new techniques, using more cable work, but still pretty explosive to this
Right.
point.
Right. Right.
And then decided to become enhanced at 27. It was really due to me dieting a ton while being natural in my 20s. Testosterone levels were super garbage. Spent about 6 months with my doctor trying to do like a higher calorie, higher fat diet to bring it back up. It went back up to like 300, but he's like, dude, if you want to be in fitness, it might be, a good idea to do some hormones. That's when I got on hormones. And then I was pretty low dosing, and then my wife and I said we decided we don't have kids, so I came off for about a year and a half, did the HCG, HMG. I tried to stay on task, couldn't get the quality and the motility back, and then kind of was training with the more explosive modality when I was like 29, with enhancement, and then when I was like 31, 30 is when I decided I'm gonna go like all in on this time under tension, same amount of enhancement, and my body fucking exploded. Like it was taking that intensity and putting it towards crazy range of motion, total failure on my sets, and doing a lot of that what I talked about earlier, like 6 to 8, like drive, squeeze, slow, eccentric, drive, stretch, stretch, stretch. And then when I get to like failure where I can't pull negatives anymore, then I get some like what more like explosive kind of bro reps in my set. So I get kind of the best of both worlds. I get that slow twitch, really, really long range of motion, elongating the tissue, firing it, getting a ton of blood flow. And then I just really drip through, let's say 5, 7, 8 extra reps at the end of the set that be more explosive, so to speak. So that was kind of the trajectory. And then just continuing to think about, okay, what I'm trying to achieve is maximizing stimulus. So in those 2 years, since I've really exploded in size, my mindset is, how do I make the training as hard as possible with a good enough amount of weight that I'm like, it's enough, right? That I'm getting a ton of stimulus, but I'm really strengthening my target muscle groups and not using as much total stimulus, total fatigue in order to do so. So if I want to grow my back, sure, deadlifts is a great exercise. Don't get me wrong. But the stimulus to fatigue ratio, I mean, the amount of stimulus I'm driving in relation to the amount of fatigue, chronic, total.
Well, yeah, I mean, deadlifts is a compound movement though.
Yep.
Correct.
So it's not, you're not isolating. So obviously there's going to be more fatigue there.
Correct. So what I'm saying is, if I'm trying to build my back, the thing I'm trying to do the most is, how much can I drive stimulus into my lats, my rhomboids, my spinal erectors, my rear delts, everything in my back, without having to like get so much chronic tax of fatigue. And the biggest thing I think has helped me is, I tell people, and C-Bum just did a post about this, like, when you train like this, you don't have to fucking stretch. I don't stretch ever. People will see me in the gym, they're like,
Yeah.
how much you stretch to be this hyper mobile? I'm like, not a fucking minute, not a single goddamn minute outside
Yeah,
the
of
gym
course. Yeah.
do I stretch. Do I do mobility work? I don't pull out the foam roller. I don't sit on my couch and like just do all these like mobility balls bullshit. I'm not saying it's bad. Don't get me wrong. I don't want people to say like, oh, mobility.
No, you're doing it while training though, so you don't have to add the time after. We get
a
it.
forced stretch. So like, think
Yeah.
about somebody with as much tissue as me to get enough to elicit enough of a stretch response. Takes a really good amount of force to push me into that stretch, especially because there's so much tissue there. So for me to like, hold on to a doorway and fucking stretch my pec, like, it's not happening. But I put the fly machine, I put the stack on there, and my third working set, I'm back here opened up, driving through. I'm eliciting in a great stimulatory response, but I'm also stretching. And that's what I think has helped me in my trainings, because I've stayed so healthy. My joints feel great. I don't have to ever like, I don't warm up. People will say, "Oh, what do you warm up with?" I'm like, "My first fucking exercise." Like, what do you mean? I'm just gonna fucking hop into it. Like, let's go. I don't need to hop on the treadmill. Like, let's.
Let me ask you a question, Eric. When you were coming up, I played football for 15 years, from third grade all through college. So I did the power cleans, the deadlift, the squats, the bench, the flat bench. And I agree, it's taxing. However, my argument would be this, if I had one, is I don't think you would have grown the way you did back then doing it this way. And I feel like the argument that I normally have is like, I've done more science-based stuff in since I've been retired. John Meadows got me doing a lot of different stuff, like powerlifting stuff. I've done the RP hypertrophy app. I think that stuff's awesome. I've tried many different methods. My argument is, do you think if you took what you're doing now and applied it to yourself back then, you would have grown and had the base you had prior to your
I fucking wish I knew what I knew now 10 years ago, dude. Wish.
Yeah, but wait a second. Eric, you can only assume.
Yeah,
of course.
Can I tell you, this is one thing I've noticed throughout my entire bodybuilding career. I've been doing this for 25 years. Every single person who is married to a system, that system is the one that they got the most size from.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter what system it is. Whatever system worked for that person is the system that they are going to preach the loudest. So like for me, bro split worked the best. High volume legs worked the best. Like, so I'm like, I'll preach it from the rooftops, right? But what I've learned over 25 years is everything fucking works. Just everything works for different people. And the thing that they made the most gains with is the thing that they're going to preach the loudest. It's kind of like the music you listen to in high school is still the music you like now.
Yes.
Right. It's like the same. And you know what I mean? It's like that kind of principle. So, and I also wonder, going back to what Guy said too, you built a big foundation with powerlifting, with all those things. So I'm like, you don't know if you would have gained. I think I don't want to say wrong. It's presumptuous to think that you would have gained the same amount of size doing all these things back then. It might be a combination of all of the things you did that allowed you to put on the size you did now.
It could be, yeah. But I think that the only reason I think that I have some ability to stand on that belief is because I was 2 to 3 years enhanced, training a little bit more towards that,
Right.
like, intensity, joints hurt more, more limitations, wrapping up my knees for every leg set. And now in the last 2 years, the amount of growth I've seen with no
Yeah.
substantive change in anabolic load, no substantive change in, let's say, I mean, if anything else, I've got fucking kids now, so I'm in a like less advantageous position to grow. Sleep's not as good. I've got a lot more obligations, both business wise, being a good dad. I mean, I sent Fouad a video of me with my 2 dogs, babies. They're up at 5 a.m. this morning. So it's, it would be almost, it's almost a less conducive environment now than, let's say, the first 3 years I was enhanced. And I could say honestly that the dose has not been, different in those two time frames. So the base is still there. Now I've had 3 years enhanced to do it the way kind of more, bro,
Yeah.
a little more explosive. And then 2 years doing this like really, really all in on crazy range of motion. And I think the biggest misconception about the way I train is that there's more of a focus on the range of motion than on the intensity and the weight. Most people can't do the weights I'm doing with half range of motion that I'm
Right.
doing with full ROM. And the way I try to explain it to people is from a physics perspective. If we're talking about angles and levers, if you leg press to here, to get from here to here with, let's say, 8 plates,
Yeah. Yeah.
is much, much easier. Now you sink here,
Yeah.
that amount of force and torque required to
Right.
get from here all the way back, even
Right.
almost percent, because I want to keep tension,
Right.
is going to be much, much greater using the same exact weight. So weights aren't all created equal in
But
terms of, you've seen, you laugh at the go to the fullest extreme. You laugh at the guy that, has his friend help him fucking pick up the dumbbells, and he's like this, and you see him like that. And even you guys would be like, oh, fucking tool, dude.
yeah.
Like, they're going like fucking 3 inches down just so they can say they shoulder press like 120s.
Of course.
Even you guys would be like, fucking idiot. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm like, okay, so now there's here, which is, I guess, would be 90. Now there's here, and then there's fucking me, right? So for
Okay, but
me, to make this is making hundreds when I press hundreds like this would be almost like, I would argue, about as hard as one, like 120s here and 140s to here.
okay.
So go ahead.
Eric, let me jump in. I just got a couple things I want to ask you.
Yeah.
So two things. One, I don't think anybody's arguing necessarily with full range of motion because
No.
I think I don't agree necessarily with that range of motion. I agree with more active range of motion with still being safe, and I'll explain that in a minute. But I think what people in my area that like in my circle that I talk to are more annoyed with don't do X. They're not just saying, hey, you can still do dumbbell curls, you can still do barbell curls, you can still do bent over rows, just do them with full range of motion. If that's what people were saying, I think all of us would be like, yeah, that's cool. I think when people come out and they say, and I'm not saying you're saying this, so I kind of making you represent the science community.
Sorry.
I think when they come out and say, don't do these exercises, that's where I take exception. And I'm like, wait a minute, we have a lot of evidence that say these exercises work. That's the first point. The second point is when you're talking about doing a shoulder press like this, right? In my mind, it's not that I can't do it. It's not that I can't do it with 80s. It's not that I want to use hundreds, so I'm doing 90. My actual belief is doing 90 is safer than doing this because now I'm putting my rotator cuff in such a stretched position that doing that putting 80 pounds of pressure on that rotator cuff over time, maybe not the first year, maybe not the second year, over time is going to lead to more wear and tear than if I stopped at 90. And I think, you can agree or disagree with that, but everybody points to ego.
Yeah.
But it's not ego. I don't feel like it's as safe personally.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's just going to be kind of
An agree to disagree kind of
agree to
situation. I
disagree
get it.
kind of thing. Because
Right.
like for me, and I don't like to ever just put it on, like, hang my hat, but I have trained a bunch of people in this methodology, especially shoulder and pinion shoulder pain in the gym that the gym I go to. And especially since teaching some of these guys, bigger guys, especially full range of motion on chest, and then also full range of motion on raises, and also like, over like pressing in front and really stretching. They'll come to me and do like, dude, Eric, like my shoulder pain's gone. It's crazy. I don't
I
understand.
know. I know. I just wonder 10 years down, like these things, like, look, man, I'm 25 years in now, and now I'm just getting some shoulder pain. So I could have said to you, well, my 90-degree bullshit form is also healthy because look, I've been training for 20 years and I got zero pain. So like anybody can use an anecdote as like their evidence for why something works. Because look, I've done flat bench and I have no pec tears. That means flat bench is safe. It doesn't. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people tear their
Well,
pecs during flat
but
bench. So I
what I'm saying is there was a pain that existed that
and then
no
it
longer
went away. Yeah.
exists, that, and they say they're making more progress. And I'm not
Right.
saying that that means I created a scientific study with fucking, 15 people at Zoo Culture Gym that can like, dude, it's not, I can't say that because this isn't
Right.
like university study. It's not a controlled
Yeah.
scenario. There's so many things that need to happen for me to make claims like that. But I think that we have to, speak to what we know, and
Right.
also what's worked to a certain capacity for us or the people we've known. I am 100% in agreement that we shouldn't be saying, let's say, don't do these exercises.
Right.
What I always preach is let's do these exercises within the confines of good form, not ego lifting, and making sure that we are going to keep ourselves safe enough that you can actually show up to the gym tomorrow, because that's always the goal, right? Let's
Right.
keep progress,
Right.
but let's not get injured doing so. So, for example, like I I like the bench press, but I like the camber bar better because it gives that extra, 2, 3, 4 inches of range of motion, a little bit more scap retract. We can open up the chest a bit more to tension, and you can't do as much weight. So my argument is the stimulus to his chest itself, just because you're increasing the angles of the levers, is going to be just as great with a less amount of weight on the bar, and subsequently less tax on the joint itself, as opposed to going heavier. Whereas you even saw, like, I mean, you never like to make like a singular example, but a lot of guys, when they are benching, especially heavy, even you heard Mike say like, oh, I'm taking this one with all triceps. Like it's very common when you get to a point where you don't feel like you can, push out with your chest, you're going to start driving with triceps, with even lats. Like some of the best bench press professionals
Okay.
in the world will say, I use a lot of lat drive. But so if we're bodybuilders, let me just ask you that. If we're
Yeah.
bodybuilders and we say, oh, I'm using a lot of lat drive on my bench press, and your chest is your lagging body part, would you not argue, that's probably not like a good thing?
Okay. I'm going to answer. So if we're talking about lagging body parts, it's a little different. But if we're talking about just bodybuilding in general, one of the things that I feel like has been lost on this generation is everyone's trying to isolate too much and they're actually looking at compound movements as if they're bad. If I'm training my chest and my chest is growing, but my triceps and my shoulders are growing as well, I'm happy. It's like when people say, hey, if you squat, it's going to take a lot of hamstring, it's going to take some adductor, some sartorius, some glute. Then you're like, well, I don't want all that. I'm just going to hack squat with a low foot position so that it targets just my quads. I'm like, motherfucker, I got to get on stage and I want to have massive legs. I need all those other muscle groups to grow.
To
So
that,
I feel like sometimes we're too focused on the isolation and forgetting that when you're on stage, it's a 3D look. You
Yeah.
need all those other components. So that's why I go back to my original statement of saying the compound movements are as important, if not more important, to develop that 3D look. The isolation movements should come afterwards. So if I have a lagging chest, I don't ignore barbell press or heavy dumbbell press. I add to it and say, okay, I'm going to do some traditional stuff. And after that, I'm going to do some really targeted stuff because I have a weak chest.
You
So
want
it's like, so I don't think we should be eliminating and focusing just on isolation.
to
You
your
Go
know
ahead,
point,
guy. Go ahead, guy.
part
Sorry.
of where I think part of the disconnect is, and I this is I don't really know how else to say it, so this is going to sound pretty fucking assholeish. Like Eric, when you were talking, I'm like, man, this guy knows fucking like a lot. Like, the way you were explaining things, and then I was like, I would never fucking research that amount of shit just to go bench press. So I think the problem is you have guys that are interested in the intricacies in training and the methodologies, and then you have the guys that just want to work out. Like I was always a guy that like if I wanted to train chest, I knew I had to press, fly. That when I want to train back, I row, I deadlift. I want to train legs, I squat. I never, and that's not a good thing, but I never cared much about the intricacies to study them, to apply them to the gym. I just wanted to go to the gym and work out. So I think that's where a lot of people, where I think it seesaws, because I can be honest and say that I never really researched a bench press like that, right?
I have a good response. I have a good response. If you want to go first, Fouad.
Sorry, Eric. I just want to read this one comment because we do have a live chat going here. But now you're talking about training to a specific reason. Not everyone here is a bodybuilder. Okay, just to touch on that quickly. It doesn't matter if you're a bodybuilder or not. If your sole goal is to build a complete physique, compound movements are still important.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if you want to be a 185-pound guy on a beach somewhere. It's the fastest way to develop the entire physique is not going to be the isolation side of things. At least that's my opinion. Eric, go ahead with your rebuttal or your point to it.
Yeah. So, guy,
Eric, that was a good thing, by the way. The fact that you do that.
No. I actually didn't take it as an insult at all.
Okay, good, because it wasn't meant to be one.
I think that there's a finite amount of time in our lives when we get interested in certain things.
Yep.
And I think as a what's called subject matter expert, which I don't pretend to be, but I'd like to eventually be, it's our responsibility to be those people that are interested enough in this space to give the people that aren't that interested, maybe somebody like yourself,
to
say, oh, I've done all this fucking research and now I'm delivering you guys this information in a way that makes sense, that's finite. And it's the same thing as like, I've got no fucking, interest in astrophysics, but when I went to school, we took a class and the people that were super interested in that studied it, created a textbook so that we could learn enough so we're not retards, right? So we can understand the world's round and we fucking, there's a sun and we got a whole universe and, it's gravity. And so we get like, oh, that's why we're stuck to the fucking, floor, like jump through the fucking into space, right? You know what I mean? Like, so I don't have any interest in that. Yeah, I could give fucking two fucks. Yep. Some people are like, oh, all the different stars and the constellations. Like, I couldn't even tell you beyond like the Big Dipper. I'm lost, right? So I think that there's people that have certain interests and then they become subject matter experts and then they can break down something in a way for people like you who don't want to be doing all that fucking research.
Yeah.
And you're not watching, 15,000 Dr. Mike videos,
no chance.
The latest research, stretch bias training. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you want, hey, dude, what the fuck? Give me the fucking Cliff Notes, right?
Yeah.
How can I go to the gym and make the most gains, right? Within the confines of not getting injured. I think that's the biggest thing. And then to speak to Fouad's point, I think it's a tremendous point to make, though, that there's different training styles for different goals. And I'd be fucking terrible at powerlifting. I'd be terrible at CrossFit. I'd be terrible at some of these other modalities where weight is involved. Olympic lifting, I'd be crap at. It's not really good to be this muscle bound as an Olympic powerlifter. You really kind of want to be, still have a lot of space to kind of like clear, bar, like literally my forearms are so fucking big. I can't do this. Dude, I tried to power clean like a year ago just for fun. My bicep and forearm are too big. Even with like 225 pounds, I can't even sit on my fucking clavicle. Like that's.
If you're looking for me to say, "Oh, poor fucking Eric," is
yeah.
Don't hold your breath.
Woe is me, right? Woe is me. But the point I'm trying to make is that yes, you can't be good at all things. But I think what I've tried to say is my coaching is specifically for bodybuilding. If you want to go be a really good functional athlete, if you want to, be able to sprint or play football, like if somebody, like people come to me all the time, like, hey, do you do powerlifting programs? I'm like, dude, no. Like, but here's 3 other people I know that are terrific at that.
Yeah.
And that's just because it's not my lane, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that we do have to understand, and I think that's a really good discrepancy to start to understand, is that just because you're going in and lifting heavy weights and lifting maybe heavier every single month doesn't mean you're gonna necessarily look the way you want to look aesthetically. And I don't want to, knock on powerlifters, but I mean, at the end of the day, world's strongest man, powerlifters, you wouldn't look and be like, I want to look just like that guy or that gal. You know what I mean?
But that's kind of I feel like that's kind of an extreme take. No, but I don't think anybody on our end I'm going to call it our end because I'm a bro scientist myself. I don't think anybody on our end is saying that weight rules the the whole world of bodybuilding. Like no one's saying you can just go in there and lift heavy. Like it's still nuanced. Like we still think you need to do compound, you still need to do isolation, you still need to do full range of motion. I prefer active range of motion, but whatever, that's a preference. Like I think it's not one thing or another. It's not like, hey, isolations are the key and that's the way to do it, and it has to be done with the utmost fullest range of motion. And it's not, oh, compounds are the key and we can just lift like fucking crazy assholes. There's a blending of the two, and I think that's what both communities have to start to understand
You
is
think, Fouad, it's the bro science guys that are like, like me. I'm like, I think a little bit of everything's great, and then some of the science guys are like, fuck that. It's just this.
I think it's
Like they,
my personal opinion is it's what we said earlier. I think the guys who make the most gains doing something are usually the guys singing from the rooftops that is the way.
yeah.
But what they don't understand is somebody else made massive gains doing the
Another
thing
way.
that they're doing the thing that they don't like.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
So-
go ahead, Eric. So actually, you know what? I want to ask Paul because Paul hasn't said anything.
Yeah,
in a
Paul,
while.
sorry.
Everybody thinks you're stoned. I just
His
I did-
battery is exhausted.
No, there's just one thing I wanted to add to the conversation. Like, you guys are more training experts than I am. Just my perception is more from a judge's point of view.
well, but wait a minute. You've been training longer than all of us, just for the record.
Yeah,
You've
but
been-
you just tell me what to do for it.
Go
Well,
ahead.
judging is more my perspective on things. When I see a physique on stage that's been built primarily through isolation movements, I see gaps largely, and I don't see density to the muscle largely. When I see
Agreed.
guys build their physiques through compound movements and heavy weight, range of motion, aside, I don't see how people train, obviously, but I'm aware of some people's training styles. When I see someone who's built their physique with compound movements, I normally see less gaps, more density to the muscle, and more filled out frames, less weak points, and like I said, less gaps. So I don't know if that's something I just know, just my perception, but that's something I do believe I see on stage will translate.
That's actually a really good point, Eric, because I kind of agree with that. Like, you look at somebody like a Branch Warren, or even a Jay Cutler,
Right.
like some of these guys that really built their physiques with heavy compound movements. Whether their form was great or not, I don't know. That's not my job
Right.
to determine. But we do see, like on stage, you see a difference in the guys that train heavy compound versus not. So how do we balance that?
Here's
Both. I think by using both methods, like building with compounds, but also using some isolation, like the John Meadows type style. Fouad, I've tried a lot of different training styles over the years with Fouad. I've always liked the John Meadows style best, which I felt was a combination of those two.
Here's what I think is the biggest reason for that. And I think that it's no fault of anybody. It's kind of human nature. When you step up to a deadlift bar that has 4+ plates on it, you're locking into a different mindset in terms of what type of effort you're about to exert to get that done versus when you do a cable movement or what you would call an isolation movement or a hack squat. I think hack squat's in between because I think it's still pretty compound movement.
Yeah.
But let's say quad extension, right? Let's go like
Leg extensions.
leg extension versus
Squat.
if you look at the mindset and the level of exertion and effort that somebody's probably going to take into a bench press, a deadlift, a heavier squat, they're putting on their fucking best song. They're fucking getting hyped. They're fucking just thinking about all the nasty shit that happened to them in their life for the last week. And they're like stepping up to that bar with intent. Now, what I think happens is the problem is most people, 90+%, don't take that same intensity into what you would say are more of the isolation type movements. I'll see even pro bodybuilders do a set of quad extensions. Like it's like a throwaway exercise.
Right.
When I step up to a quad extension, I'm like, I want my quads to literally feel like they're going to, I want to jump out of my fucking skin because this burn is going to be so diabolical.
Well, hold on. I want to interrupt for a second. I'm sorry, but no matter how hard I go into a leg extension, no matter how fucking hard I go into the legs, let's say I go in with that, and I agree with you. Listen, I throw away leg extensions. I'm like, all right, whatever. Just
Yeah.
let me get some blood in the muscle, and then I'm gonna go
Like
to
an
the real shit.
auxiliary lift for
Yeah,
most
yeah.
people.
Not always, but sometimes. So, anyways, but let's just say you're right that I go in with the same torture mindset.
Hmm.
I'm only hitting my leg, like my quads.
Correct. You're only hitting your quads as opposed to squats. You're hitting your glutes, your quads,
Yeah.
your
Right.
adductors.
So that's
To
kind
a
of where
certain
my point.
degree, hamstrings very minimally, but mostly
Yeah.
quads, adductors, glutes. Yes,
Right.
and I totally agree with that as well. Is that you're also able to load that exercise much heavier than a quad extension. So
Yeah.
I think that it's these movements are extremely efficacious to say squat, but
Okay.
for a bodybuilder, like I'll see, I've seen a lot of bodybuilders move to either hack or super squat, like the machine, like free squat, or a Smith machine squat, just because we're able to control that movement more than a Bravo squat. Maybe we're able to add a little bit more time under tension, a little bit of range of motion safely. You can rack it really easily, things like that. So I wouldn't say I'm of the mindset is I like movement patterns that incorporate a good amount of cumulative stimulus, meaning you're still targeting glutes, quads, hamstrings, adductors all in that one movement pattern. Because I don't have enough time to be doing like all quads, all adductors.
Right.
Like I'll never do, dude. Some like people ask me like, dude, what do you do for your adductors? Because my like adductors connect like almost down near my knee now, and
Right.
it's literally just from like this super deep either leg pressing or the things that the compounds like you're talking about. So
Right.
I'm 100% with you that we need to incorporate these movement patterns that are also heavier loads. If somebody tells you that the amount of load that you're placing on the tissue in terms of weight is not in some way tied to the amount of total stimulus or amount of hypertrophy, they're lying to you. Like that's a lie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I am still within that camp.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is that you don't need to necessarily like, for example, I love RDLs and deficit deadlifts because I can use less weight and drive more range of motion. So again, I'm increasing those angles of those levers and I'm getting more stretch and I'm able to make weight that's maybe 60, 70% as heavy as what I would be able to do from a top end, but I'm making it harder on the actual muscles that are performing the movement, but it's still a compound movement. It's just using more range of motion, more time retention. So I think that's what we're trying to like get to that middle ground of like still do these fucking movement patterns, but do them in a way that maybe you're using a little less load, but they actually become subsequently harder to perform
I get
because
it.
you're making that weight harder to
Yeah.
get from point A to point B.
That's
1 second. I want to read this. T Puna Wakora. That's his name. Says, Fuad seems to be trolling everything Eric says. Sometimes I get really confused by the chat and how people perceive the podcast. Eric,
what?
do you feel like I'm trolling you? Because I feel like we're having a really good discussion.
Absolutely not. No, I think
I think this is the kind of discussion that I want to have with people.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything on either side. And I think people want to create drama, which
Yeah.
These are fucking these grown men are pussies.
Like Eric, we met in person. You're the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like there has to be like, well, you're a fucking idiot. No, you're a fucking idiot. Like I don't feel like it has to be that way. We're
Right.
all, like you said at the beginning of this, we're all training. We all just love to work out. We just all kind of have a different way to do things.
Yeah.
Whether it's right or wrong is dependent on each person's preference.
yeah.
I do want to ask you something though, Eric, because John, I asked John this question back in the day specifically because when I was working with John, Dennis James was very popular and he was training a lot of people at the time. And Dennis had this system where it was super slow.
Yeah.
Time under tension. Remember that, Paul?
Yeah.
His,
Super cool reps.
his time under tension was like the basis to his training. And he would get guys on a leg press and have them do like a fucking 8-second negative and 8-second concentric and just wreck guys completely.
Mhm.
And I asked John about that. And John said, it's not that it doesn't work. He's like, everything can work. But John felt, and I got this also from Dorian Yates, not personally, but like through reading some of his stuff, they felt that the explosive concentric was important in actually developing the muscle and the negative concentric. So what John used to teach me is explosive, squeeze, control. That was kind of the rep cadence. So you would explode through the concentric, squeeze the top, control the negative. And that's kind of how, and I'm not saying I always do that. I'm sure there's videos of me out there just slanging and banging, but like, that's how I was taught to train. So like, how do you feel about explosive concentrics? Is that necessary? Because I know you say a lot about being explosive not being the way to do it.
No, no, I actually am very much so. And just put my shit on do not disturb. It ran out of my time. I said for 1 hour, and we're out of the hour. All
Oh,
right.
dude, we can, if you're busy, we
No,
can
no,
wrap,
no.
like, we
I
can,
was saying, I turned on do not disturb on my laptop, and it was for 1 hour, and it just turned in hours about right now. So no, I've got time. Don't worry about it. So to tackle first, just to talk about, you know, what somebody was saying in the chat, the way I always approach conversations and in discussions with people that have opinions that are different than my own. I think to myself 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, and how much I actually disagree with myself 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So why is it okay for me to change my opinion and be okay not having the same opinion as myself 5 years ago, but then not be okay having a discussion with somebody that has an opinion that's slightly different from my own
right,
and being an asshole about it? Because I'm going to have a different opinion in 5 years than I have right now. It might be
right.
slightly different, but it's going to be different. It has to be. Like I'm continually learning, progressing, growing, whatever. So if you're going to be so fucking closed-minded that you can't have an informed discussion with somebody that has an opinion that's slightly different than your own, in hope that maybe you guys can find some middle ground, you're a child. That's
Yeah.
that's my
That's not just in bodybuilding. Look at politics.
it's
If you
life. It's life.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
applies
That's all
to
we live in.
don't
anything.
agree, then you can't disagree and still be friends. It's like, well, if you disagree with me, then fuck you. I hate you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's you're a literal child. So
Yeah,
Wait, this guy just said, do I want to give OJ a shout out? I'm sorry. Sorry, Eric, you're caught up in, you know, we were talking about Mike Van Wyck's situation earlier, and
oh god.
just a lot of negative shit, man.
people are mad because I'm Mike's friend, so they're saying, do I want to defend OJ Simpson while I'm at it? Okay, let's move on. Sorry, Eric. Go ahead.
So let's go to the like explosive, concentric, controlled, eccentric. I'm 100% on that
Okay.
bandwagon. I think
Okay.
that you're limiting your total load that you can lift because, as we know, you're stronger in the eccentric phase than you are in the concentric. So explode in the concentric, get that fast switch benefit, drive, squeeze, control that eccentric load, so you're not just wasting half the movement. That you could get a tremendous amount of growth and stimulatory response. I mean, I don't know if you guys have like Fouad, I would say maybe just open up my last post that I put my carousel post workout, which is my actual workout. I think you'll see that's pretty much exactly.
All right, you're gonna open up a can of worms here.
Oh no, here we go.
You asked for it. Yes. Eric. Eric Janicki. It's Janicki, right? I want to make sure I say it right.
Eric
from now on.
Janicki Fitness.
Share
Uh-oh.
page.
I don't know
Okay. Okay, where do you want me to click on?
I'd say just maybe that first backward. That was like an actual. So anytime it's a
this one.
carousel workout, this is shot on an iPhone. It's literally me working out. I just filmed one of my working sets.
Okay.
I just saw this today. You stretch all the way to fuck
Oh,
forward. I
wow,
saw
yeah.
that.
So you
Okay,
see
actually,
that?
it's funny, Eric. I have a question about this. I'm so glad you pointed this one out. So I was taught, obviously, the stretch like is very, very important. It's always been a thing. Like Paul knows, we've been training for 20 years together. We always stretch.
Yeah.
I don't mean stretch like traditionally. I mean like we stretch out the movements.
They put a twist there.
But the part of that was through me is you're not going all the way back.
So
Like you're not bringing the elbow all the way in. Like you're not bringing the hand to the rib.
So what I do is I bring it back as far as my body allows biomechanically without doing this. So I don't want to drop the shoulder just so I can say I brought my hand all the way to, let's say, like my hip or armpit. You see what I'm saying? So like,
okay, but why not use that same thought process on the stretch? Because you're stretching way past where the lat finishes stretching. Like you're stretching your whole body forward. So you're going past the needed stretch, but you're not going as far back to the needed
well, it's not needed. That's what I'm saying. My argument is it's not needed to go.
Oh,
What
okay,
I'm saying is
okay.
once you go past that point of, so I'm going back to where my shoulder can stay down and back. I'm exploding. I'm getting to see, look, if I were to go farther than that, what I'd be doing is collapsing the shoulder forward and taking into the bicep and front delt as opposed to keeping in lat. So here's my argument. So as you watch this eccentric load, you can see the lats still on. And reason for that is because I'm actually tracking low. So I track low to high. So I'm
yeah. I got you.
See how the lat's still on?
I got a question though, Eric. This is the problem I'm having with it. And this goes back to what we were talking about with compounds. So you're saying if I go from, how the fuck can you, I can't show it. If I go from the position you're in this photo here, let me go back. If I go from this position to this position, my shoulder is going to dip and I'm going to get some shoulder involved. That's what you're saying. My point to you is this. If I'm on stage and I'm doing a back lat spread, I'm going to dig my hands back. I don't stop here because that's not the full contraction of the lat. My hand's going to go all the way back because that's the full contraction of the lat. Now, my shoulder is going to get involved, but my back is still contracted more in this position than if I was in this position. So again, is the isolation taken too far to a point where like, oh, I'm scared to get my shoulder involved?
When you pull the elbows back, in fact, I'm not trying to disagree with you, but
That's okay if you do.
The lats actually turn off, and what you're trying to show actually is that lower back development, the Christmas tree, which technically the lat, once you go past a certain point when you're digging back, but to show all of that development, you actually, the lat goes basically off and you start to squeeze
does it?
Spinal erectors. Dude, pull back right now.
I just did it. That's what I'm saying. Like I can feel my lats.
It right along those spinal erectors in the inside lower part of the lat. And that's why you're firing that Christmas tree up.
But Eric, if I do this, I can feel my lats. And actually, if you watch guys on stage, like if you see Derek Lunsford, Dorian Yates, anybody that has a feathered back, those feathers and those striations in those lats come out the most when their elbows are dug all the way back. So what I'm trying to say is let's just assume I'm right. Maybe I'm not. Let's just assume I'm right. If I am, you're foregoing the extra contraction because you don't want to get any work done on the delt. And I'm like, why not just get both? Is kind of my point of view.
Look at my fucking delt. It's a pumpkin.
Like it's big enough.
I'm fucking huge, bro.
I'm fucking done, bro. I'm fucking maxed.
You already won that one. I won delts already. I don't have to do anymore. But look, and listen, I don't. It's kind of a moot point. You can't argue like what you feel versus what I feel.
No.
I guess people could say like your lat turns off, but honestly, the further I dig my elbows back, the more contraction I feel in my lat.
Let's go to I think the second movement. I think we can all agree it's probably more illustrative of both of our points, right? Let's go to the second movement pattern. Like
like that I like.
You see how I open the chest to tension, I drive down explosive, boom, squeeze, slow eccentric load, lean forward.
Yep.
See like literally you can see my fucking lats like stretching.
Yeah.
Throughout this movement, they're on. And so one of the big cues I tell people is pull with your elbows and release tension with your elbows, because when you start to pull with the hands and like kind of just do a negative just to do a negative, you might be doing the negative more with the bicep than you are with the back. So what I want you to always feel is drive,
but
pull with the elbow and then release, almost push forward towards the stack. You see almost set back. And what I do is I can push forward and actually control that negative through my lat, as opposed to just like most people do like this and they'll do a negative here. Like that's just fucking mostly biceps.
But Eric, again, you're talking to three guys with a combined 60, 70 years of training. If you go back to magazines that I've written, you'll see that I used to say like treat your hands like hooks, and the point of exertion is your elbow.
Yeah.
Correct.
So like the point of intensity, the point of intent is your elbow. So like all the stuff you're doing is fine. Like it's not that I disagree with your training. Obviously there's a couple things that I was like, okay, I don't necessarily agree with that, but it's mostly when you say don't do X. But like this is totally normal. Like if you watch me and Paul train, it's not this slow.
Well, you come right off the bench there in your stretch.
So I literally let it take me off because I wanted to pull me up so high.
That's what you're doing.
And then this is same thing. You know, you're leaning all the way forward and then you start like this is the same movement pattern I would do. I think it's just that, you know, our rep speeds and cadence are a little different, but yours is definitely a little bit more deliberate. But no, nothing you're doing here is wrong.
I mean, dude, your lats are firing when your elbows are all the way back too on that.
I don't think anything you're doing is wrong. Like this is all fine to me. It's this, right? Okay, let's train biceps. Don't do dumbbell curls. This is that's where I have an issue. It's not that this is wrong. This is a great movement. But when you say don't do dumbbell curls, I'm like, wait a minute. We have decades and decades with guys with I just watched the Mike Israetel video where he was like, I don't like doing standing dumbbell curls. I do them lying on a bench. I'm like, okay, that's cool. But you can't tell people that standing dumbbell curls are bad when we have decades and decades and decades of bodybuilders that have built massive arms doing standing dumbbell curls.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying is like I agree that sometimes I understand that the way I present information is a little bit clickbaity, but
That's fine.
I always try to
These are honest.
in the caption say like bicep curls standing are not inherently bad. Just do them with more control, and they're more likely to be performed as an ego lift. Then the way I'm trying to teach you is almost modalities where you couldn't ego lift. Like it's
Right.
putting you in a position where it'd be very hard for you to grab a weight that you literally can't do with your biceps. So I'm not saying that cheek curls are inherently not going to work over time. I'm just saying maybe you'd be better suited doing something that's going to actually work the bicep more effectively with less like injury risk, less fatigue
Right.
build up. That's not necessary, right?
I want to jump away from it for a second. How old are you, Eric? 30,
32.
32. Are you trying to get your pro card?
I think I'm gonna take a little break on it for right now, just with like, business, family, life. I love bodybuilding, man. I wish I had, I mean, and I think this is, people are gonna call this a cop out. Like I wish I had the structure that could take me to the top because I would love to be like a Samson or even a Chris or even a fucking Keon, right? Like somebody that literally looks like they're fucking 260 pounds when they're, you
Yeah.
know, 206, right? Like watching Keon this year and seeing him in his lead up to the Olympia and also seeing his stage shots and the way his hamstrings just feel like they're like aliens like jumping out of the screen. Like I love that, man. Like, dude, that just fires me up. But at the end of the day, like as much as it sucks, like bodybuilding is a lot of genetics, right? Like I wasn't gifted with the tiniest waist. I wasn't gifted with the broadest shoulder structure. So I think for me to beyond that, also drugs for me to look great year round are so low because the way I like comport myself, the way I recover, the way I eat, the way like I can look like this on 250 test, 250 primo, GH test Morellin, IGF-LR3. Like I can be honest, like that's it right now.
Yeah.
At this time, like year round. Whereas, we're not dumb, right? Like bodybuilding drugs get way more harsh
Yeah.
as you get closer to a show. I don't do any fucking orals in my off season. Yeah, that's a great shot. Like my side chest, I can hide the waist structure, dude. It's a beautiful shot. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you.
But your waist
Well,
doesn't look
yeah.
big. Like when I look at it here, your waist, I never thought of your physique as being a
Yeah,
large,
same, Eric.
I always, when I looked at your physique, I always thought, man, if you had a little bit more leg, you would be a pro.
Yeah. See, Eric, like, yeah, that's why, because like, I wasn't at the show.
Like that's not a big waist, dude.
No, not at all, dude.
I was told by many people there that they thought you should have got the pro card. So it just sounds surprising that you don't think that you have it right now. It sounds
I
like
think
you're
you're always your hardest critic,
Like
man.
Eric, I'm not like blowing smoke up your ass or anything because like I don't really know you that well to like lie to you. I the upper body is very well developed. The waist is not big at all. It just seems to me that the legs need to catch up to the upper body, and then you're there.
Yeah, I mean,
Like especially like
the quads look good.
quads not too bad. The hamstring needs to catch up, but like this is all very well developed.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, and like I said, I'm my harshest critic. I see myself in the worst light, and I'll compare myself to, a Chris or Derek or a Brandow or any of these guys that are at the top, and that's where I want to be, right? I don't want to just be
Yeah, but Eric, you're a smart guy, and you know it's going to take time to like these guys
correct.
are everybody's genetics. This is the other thing that is very tricky with bodybuilding that a lot of people don't understand, and you probably do, is everybody's genetics develop at a different rate.
Yeah.
Like you see guys like I've known guys that are like 20 fucking 2 years old and they look like they're ready for the pro stage.
Correct.
And then I've seen other guys that they get there, but it takes them 10 years.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's fair to yourself to compare yourself to a Raphael or whoever, because it might just take you a little longer, but you have the physique
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do it. I mean, it's crazy.
I appreciate that, and I think that's been the biggest discouraging point is like you'll see a guy like Anton who's 21 years old who's gonna like literally be a top tier pro in the next like 6 to 12 months. And then you've got a guy like, you know, Chris, who's got, 6 Olympias and he's 29, not even 30 years old yet. So he's 2 years younger than me with 6 Olympia titles. So
Right.
it makes me feel like, fuck, like, was that really my calling, or do I just love the sport so much that I'm, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole?
I don't think you're wrong to look at it that way. Look, there's certain people. Sorry, Paul. Just give me one sec. I'll let you in on the next point. There's certain people that are just built for it.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you look at Samson, you look at Phil Heath, you look at
Correct.
Samson's not even. Samson's a good example because his genetics are great, but he's not a great example because he's 38 years old.
Yeah.
If you look at Phil Heath was 24 or 25 or whatever the fuck it was, or when he turned pro. So it's like, or like, look at Martin. Martin's 27.
Mar was the next guy I was going to bring up.
So I'm like, so I understand that they're, and this conversation is more.
Problem is,
This conversation is
everybody
more
can
for the
make
people
argument.
listening. It's more for the people listening than it is for you, because I'm sure you already know this. But it's like, yes, there are people that are built for it, and they may always be better than you. But I guess it depends on what your ultimate goal is, because you can still be a great pro. You might not be an 8-time Olympia winner because maybe it's like that's not your calling, but it doesn't mean you can't be a great pro.
Yeah.
So I think, it's everybody, it's, their decision how far they want to push things. Paul, I'm sorry I cut you off. What were you going to say?
I was just kind of agreeing with you. Like, I think you're kind of being unfair to yourself to put to measure yourself against Chris and, Martin, some of these guys. Like, I don't know what your total competitive background is, but you were pretty close to get your pro card just a few short months ago. I'm not sure if that was your second show, your third show, your fourth show, but like I've never placed that high before. Like I'm sure, like I know Fouad took you years to get your pro card at the national level. Like,
well, come on, Paul, not that long. Take it easy.
Well, took a few, but
I think it comes down to everybody holds themselves to a different standard,
for sure.
and maybe Eric's just holding himself to that.
Well, Eric, you're comparing yourself to some of the best physiques in the world, and the problem, not a problem, but every one of us can compare ourselves to those same guys because they're at the top. And like when you're playing football, you compare yourself to Tom Brady because he's one of the best. So you're comparing yourself to only not even a percent, a very few people, because you can fit all those people in a fucking bucket because there's not that many Mr. Olympias, or there's not a lot of them. So to compare yourself to the greatest, as you can say Chris, one of the greatest of all time to ever compete, right? So you're comparing yourself to people that we all can because of how great they are. So, how, as much as I understand that, you might be able to be one of those people, but you questioning and waiting, because the longer time you wait, every day, there was a quote that I heard, every morning you get up, you're worse than you were yesterday because you're older.
Yeah, no, and I think there's two issues. I think the biggest issue is that bodybuilding, outside of the drug use, outside of whatever you want to, lay down to long-term health implications, the biggest effect it was having was outside of myself. It was on my family, it was on my children, it was on my ability to perform as a father from an energy perspective.
Yeah.
Being so fucking finite on a meal plan and on macros.
Yeah.
It's just your kid offers you a fucking goldfish and you don't want to eat it because you're like, no, I'm locked in, right? As much as you want to pretend like you can be as good of a human being or a parent as you are when you're not being like super stringent on prep bodybuilder, like it's an impossibility. It's just, you cannot perform at the highest level as a bodybuilder.
True.
And be as present as I would like to be as a father, as a husband, as a man to the people around me. So I always said, if I was fucking 26-year-old single, I would, dude, if I feel sick because I'm so depleted, like, dude, I'll fucking do it. I don't care.
Yeah.
But now if I'm like driving my children somewhere and I'm like so fucking low energy that I'm like having brain fog and I kind of forget where I'm going, like that's not okay to me. Like that's now I'm crossing a line where it's not affecting me, it's affecting people around me in a negative capacity that I'm just not willing to broach for something that I don't see myself being able to be that, like you said, maybe that I'm not going to be that top. So I have one facet of my life where I perform very well, social media, affecting people in the way they train and being a subject matter expert, like you were talking about, Guy. And then there's this other life, which is bodybuilding, where realistically, if I put fucking every single ounce of my being, I could be like third, fourth, fifth place at a pro show in 3, 4, 5 years. Like it with
You're
that.
weighing the risk.
Oh,
You're
sure.
weighing the
Yeah.
risk reward. I get it. It makes sense.
Yeah.
You have 2 kids. Are they twins?
Twins, man. Yeah, you can see them they're on my Instagram story if you want to pop it open.
Are they boys or girls?
1 and 1.
1 and 1. Good for you, man. That's awesome.
So you got them both out of the way. You're done then, eh?
Yeah, we're done.
Paul's the only-
Done as could be.
Good for you.
That's your daughter?
That's my
Obviously.
daughter. Yeah,
She's adorable.
that was her on a timeout, and that's my son.
This is your daughter in a timeout. She looks happy for a timeout.
She's a little brat. She said, I put her on a timeout, and she said again. I'm like, yeah, that's my son, and that's him going down the slide.
That's pretty.
awesome.
I think people forget how much responsibility some of you guys have.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know. I knew you're a younger guy. I didn't know you had 2 kids. That's fucking crazy. How long you been married for?
So my wife and I have been together for 10 years, married for 4. And then my children are turning 2 November 4th. So just a couple short weeks here, man.
That's
Let me ask you a guy question. And
Hit
you don't have to answer, but how does your wife feel about all the girls in your videos?
I shouldn't give a fuck.
Oh.
She doesn't give a fuck. What the fuck? My wife would be like, "Hey, get these girls out of your fucking videos."
For sure.
She's like the antithesis of like jealous. It's almost like annoying to a certain degree. It's like,
He's like, you ain't going anywhere, motherfucker.
He's like trying to make her jealous. It's not working.
it's literally like it's crazy. She'll be like, she'll like people will be like, oh, like, you should start an OnlyFans for Eric, and she'll be like, yeah, it depends on how much money we'll make. Like she just thinks it's funny. Like,
Really,
like or if I make a video with a girl, people ask her like, oh, do you care? And she's like, no, it's a fucking stupid skit. Like it's getting him views, which gets him more exposure, which is good for
Almost
him.
like
family.
acting in a way in those videos.
It's acting, dude. Like it's like if you married Brad Pitt or whatever, and you were mad that he like did like a love scene with somebody in a movie, like you know what you're signing up for. So
Right.
she doesn't care. She's a fucking big girl. She's super smart. She's
Are
I
you
don't
doing love scenes that we don't know about?
What's
Yeah.
your,
all the time, bro. Just
what's your
those are behind the pay door though. So
what's your wife do?
so she's a nutritionist and
Okay.
like functional. She does like kind of more like functional wellness, like gut health stuff.
Do you guys both work from home?
Yeah.
Is it Paul? Do you ever need space, or are you like you're cool with like
I
working
mean,
at home?
we're so busy, man. Like, dude, I'll pop off to the gym and I gotta go film video, like some YouTube videos with my videographer. She's got clients, and then she'll like, she goes and does chiropractic. Like, she'll go to the chiropractor, and then she does CrossFit in the morning at fucking 6 a.m.
So
So
you're not just sitting in each other's face
Yeah,
all day long.
right.
no, it's not like that at all.
That's
Yeah,
different.
yeah. Okay, I gotta ask you some bro chat questions just for the sake of it, because I have you on here.
That's good.
I'm sure these guys will remind me of something. I'll ask you some easy ones first. Okay.
How many times you towel?
What?
How many times you towel?
Yeah, okay. How many times do you use a towel before you throw it in the wash?
Thank God my wife does all of our laundry very consistently. So I would say she doesn't let it go more than like 4 days, 4 to 5 days, which
Okay.
is
4 days is pretty reasonable.
Follow up. Do you ever use your wife's towel?
I know better, dude.
So, is that a yes or a no?
It's a no, Paul. Nobody
Okay.
uses her. You're the only fucking person in the world that uses their wife's towel.
Well, that's like using somebody else's fucking toothbrush, you weirdo.
Well, I don't know if it's that bad, but it's
I don't
like
think
I mean, it's pretty weird. I mean,
there's
you're washing
levels
your
to
fucking
this, but I think-
speckle and your ass crack. You don't know which end to get out of here, bro.
I don't see what
No.
you're in.
wait. I
Probably
have another follow up to that, because Paul also thought this was strange. Do you and your wife have separate hooks for your towels?
Yeah, we got two hooks on the door.
See,
You
Paul?
do, eh?
Paul?
Guess I'm the anomaly.
Paul's so fucking weirded out by that.
You have no privacy or toiletries.
Shut that everybody else.
Wait, do you share the soap?
They took everything, huh?
Do you share the bar of soap?
We use liquid.
Yeah, I share that. Well,
The bar?
Actually, we don't share a bar. Summer has no, because Summer has like this soft, like
Yeah, but would you
skin
share a bar?
sensitive shit.
That would be weird too.
Okay, here's the thing about a bar of soap is you're consistently like pulling off the outside layer of it. So it's like
Right.
a
It's clean.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. What happens if they end in a weird place and just throw it right back on the rack? What happens if the last pass through was like balls or crack? And then
here's the thing is my face has been all up in all those places.
Right.
So
Right.
how am I gonna be mad about taking
Right.
something, putting it on my nuts after like
I agree with Eric. Yeah.
Exactly. Real man.
What else do we have? What other bro chat questions do we have? What's your favorite fast food?
fast food?
Do you eat? Are you a food guy or no? Do you eat clean?
I'm a huge food guy. I'm a big like breakfast, brunch, or desserts, like donuts, dude. Fucking donuts.
Really?
Yeah,
But
donuts.
you're in shape all the time. You probably don't cheat that much.
The thing is, the way I eat is
yeah, you're like 99% perfect all the time.
I'm curious about your food.
I enjoy the way I eat so much that it's almost like I hate the way I feel after I eat that stuff. So what I do is I make stuff like, for example, I love cooking and baking and shit like that. I know it's super gay. Anyway, I like it. So
You were okay till you said baking, and then I was like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So for example, like the last like 2 months, I've been making these like super fucking good. And I know it sounds really whack, but like these protein muffins with like, so basically it's like canned pumpkin, applesauce, eggs. I blend up oat flour, protein powder, cinnamon, vanilla extract, and then you can like from a base of that, you can literally like add whatever you want to make it taste totally different. So you use different flavor protein powder. You put peaches in it. You can put fucking strawberries. You can put chocolate chips, peanut butter. So like I've been making like literally different variations of this, and they're like usually like they're high protein. They're like good amount of carbs, but pretty low fat. I put cottage cheese in there as well, and they come out fucking just incredible every time. So like that, I'm like, dude, I'll eat 3 or 4 of these for 500, 600, 700 calories before I'll eat one donut. You know what I mean? Like these taste great. They're really like they have a ton of micronutrients. I usually put fruit in them, things like that. They got eggs, cottage cheese, ton of protein, and they're gluten free. Whatever. I'm not super big on gluten free, but you know what I'm trying to say is like I try to create ways where my nutrition isn't just like fucking chicken, rice, broccoli every single meal, so I don't feel like I need to cheat. Like every single day, I enjoy my food.
Do you ever have a cheat where you just eat pizza and shit?
Yeah, of course. Like
How
I
often?
have
What's your
no
go-to? What's
problem.
your
I have no
go-to?
problem with it. Whatever. And
You normally eat when you eat shit? Is it pizza,
I
sushi?
love pizza, fucking pizza. I used to love burgers, but I've kind of been like a little bit off of the burger kick recently.
How often do you do it? Like once a week, every other, twice a week?
Since we've had kids, honestly, less, dude. To be honest,
Really?
we'll go out like we've started to try to take them to restaurants more. And of course, when we go to a restaurant, we're not taking them to fucking like a place that serves like
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're going to
$100,000 steaks.
we're going to place that serves like
Kids.
it's food, yeah, stuff like that. So like when we go, dude, I'm down for anything. And that's what's fun about being in the phase I am, not trying to be in prep, because that's another thing you can't do. You can't just fucking go to a pizza place on a Sunday with like 20 minutes notice. Like I didn't have to text my coach about it and think about the ramifications. I'm like, dude, I'm fucking 285 pounds of muscle. If I can't stay relatively lean with eating some junk here and there, like I'm doing something wrong. So,
Right.
and I walk a lot too. I just walk my babies, 3.5 miles round trip to daycare and back. Like it's just like little things like that add up, and it allows you a lot more bandwidth and leeway to have things that are quote unquote not bodybuilding food or off plan and still say very lean kind of year round.
I think, Paul, that's what me and you were doing wrong.
Well, you told me that, Fouad. You told me when you were hanging around with Mark Bell and those guys that they snack. When they snack, it's healthy snacks.
Well, it's not just that; it's the micro dosing exercise. Like
Yeah.
Like you just said, like the way we look at exercise is like sit around the house all day long, and then go to the gym and then do 45 minutes of cardio.
And then come back home.
Whereas a lot of these guys, and I'm not saying you don't do that, Eric, but a lot of these guys that I talk to are like, they're counting their steps. They're getting in like 10 minutes on a bike here and there where they can, or like he said, he's walking his kids to daycare. Like these things are all adding up, right? And I think that's kind of the stuff that we don't do.
Yeah.
I could easily have driven them to daycare. It's easier to do. I could have fucking hopped on my Tesla, popped them in the car seats. It's a fucking 5-minute drive, but I said, fucking take the dogs out, walk them. I get like 5,000 6,000 steps to start the day. It's just like now I've put myself in a place where I'm already ahead of the game. I've done some fasted steps. I then eat breakfast. Digestion's a little better, energy's a little higher. It's just like little things add up, I think, is the biggest thing when it comes to that thermic equation of, calories in versus out.
Eric, I have a separate question. Why do you have a Tesla?
Where do you live?
Honestly, this I,
I'm
I
just
think
joking.
it's
Can't be that big getting out of that thing.
Yeah, you can't
What
fucking.
are you doing?
so here's the thing. I've had my fun, dude. In my 20s, I made good money. I had a Shelby GT 350 six
Nice.
speed, and then I had C63 AMG S was
Nice.
my then the lease after that, and then I got the Tesla Model Y Performance.
Yeah.
I've never liked a car more, dude.
Jay loves that thing too.
I know it's fast. I mean, that
Dude,
goes
it's
without saying.
fast.
Yeah.
It fucking drives you places, which is insane. You can like turn it like it's hot here in LA, obviously. I'll turn my car on 10 minutes before I sit down in it. It's just like perfect the way it's like 60,
Yeah,
70.
but I can do that in my Cadillac too.
Yeah, of course, of course. I don't think I'm I'm less so on the. I mean, it really has been nice not stopping at a gas station. Like we have the solar panels on the roof
Yeah.
on the
Yeah, but
back.
you gotta plan your fucking trips around like where those
Yeah,
plug-in.
but guy, if
But
he's not
I don't.
driving over 300
I
miles or whatever
I
it is,
charge
he's
I
not.
charge my Tesla every 2 weeks, dude. I stay in my pocket. I'm not the guy that's driving all over fucking LA. I got the gyms I go to within like 15 minutes of my house.
Yeah,
Trader Joe's 3 minutes away. Like I don't. I'm
Because I
not.
stay in my pocket. I love it.
but
Dude,
for
uh,
you, you have like
I
a
can
lot of
I
if
could.
you don't, if you live in LA and you don't stay in your pocket, you're fucking miserable. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Paul. Sorry, say what you're
well,
gonna say.
I was gonna say because in California you have charging stations everywhere, don't you? Like here we
Yeah.
don't have any still.
Yeah, we have a ton here. I've never used. I'm like literally. I've owned my Tesla for 2 years. I've never charged it anywhere outside of my house. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I have the. I have the. You could have the drip charger where you can just plug it in, but we
yeah,
have the like actually. They
yeah.
install.
Yeah,
It connects to your main line. It charges it and like fully charged in like 6-7 hours, right?
yeah.
So I'll do that once every week, maybe 2 weeks max, or every week max, or closer to every 2 weeks. Plug it in overnight, boom, you got a fully fucking charged car.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you know what my brother has a Tesla, and I don't think I'll ever own one, but I can see the purpose if, like you said, if you don't do long, like I do a lot of long road trips and I pull trailers and shit when I have my bikes and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Well, it's not practical for you. I'd never
yeah,
recommend it in a million
yeah,
fucking years. It's a nightmare. I will say I've driven my videographer. I've twice have now driven to Vegas with an
yeah,
electric car. One time mine, one time his BMW.
Miserable.
Yeah, and it's just dude. On the way there and back, you're fine. The charging stations are actually very good. They're fast. You
yeah,
stop for 20 minutes, you go pee, you fucking eat a meal, you pop back in. Oh, you're at 85%, and you can make it the rest of the way there.
yeah,
Once you're in Vegas, fucking nightmare. Like
Really?
yeah,
I don't know what it is about Vegas. That just charging stations, they always have a line. They're few and far between. And so that's I would say for anybody that travels a lot or takes, like you said, you pull your bikes, don't do it, dude. The convenience of pulling up to a gas station, pulling out a nozzle, sticking in your car and being at full fuel in,
2
95
minutes.
seconds is way better than
yeah,
having to think through your, trip and how many times you're gonna have to stop and charge your car. So I don't think it's there yet to where for somebody who drives distance, it's practical. It's not. It's for people like my wife and I, for all intents and purposes, drive no more than, let's say, 30 minutes from our house, 95% of the time. And even if we go, let's say, an hour away, you can get an hour away, way more than that, and then back, and you're still at 50%, and then you charge it, right? Like,
But you're in a warm weather
Eric,
city.
Eric, can I ask you a separate question? How do you feel about the bodybuilding community currently? Because I know there's a lot of shit going on. There's a lot of shit going on with, the Mike situation and the Nick Walker situation. And, people are just, there seems to be like a lot of drama, Matt Jansen and this and that. And like, do you pay attention to any of this drama, or do you kind of just stay away from it, do your own thing? Or do
unfortunately,
you have any thoughts on it?
I'm way more plugged in than I want to be a lot of the time. So I watch it, I absorb it. Um, I think that we're in a place where there's so much more of a focus on the negative, and people really want to latch on to just like fucking just if anybody has a slip up of any like if you
Yeah.
go to like some of Nick's recent post, dude, like Nick Talker, if you trained like you know, half as hard to show up to a show as you do in the gym. Like you'd be a fucking great bodybuilder. Like just and like 1,000 likes on each of these comments. Like
Yeah.
there's been so much, I think, in almost more so. I mean, it happens in sports too. You see it in football, you see it, but it seems like in bodybuilding more than anywhere else, there's just this really nasty, just need to latch on to the
And
negative story
fucking just turn
and
the
just
knife on
fucking
it.
turn
But
the
I
fucking knife, and you're only as good as your last show. It's become so much more than it ever has. Think about Sean Clarita, for example, like consummate pro, like so bubbly. Like think about even 5 years ago, the conversation around like a guy like Sean Clarita, like, you know, a mini Ronnie, just fucking just crazy muscle bellies. Gets second this year, fucking failure, flat. Matt Jensen sucks, you know, is a shadow of himself. He looked better 10 years ago. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. Like this dude's
so
42 years old and just got second at the fucking Mr. Olympia 212. And you guys are just like completely ripping him to shreds and his coach and loving it, loving every second of it. And I think that there's been so much less of a like, think about how few people are really focusing right now on Samson. Now there's this whole thing about, oh, Samson wasn't really coached by his wife. It's this other fucking guy. Like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Like this dude just fucking won the pinnacle of bodybuilding. He went from being a mid-tier pro 3 years ago to being the fucking Mr. Olympia, you know, heir apparent for the next X amount of years. And you want to focus on, was his wife actually like, shut the fuck up. It's like, seriously, like this type of like negative attitude towards anything in bodybuilding and latching on to all of this, who coached who and who's like, who's doing this. And, you know, is Nick actually dying because he pulled out and his health's so bad? Like, it sucks, man. I hate to
so
see that. It makes me want to do it even less.
that's I kind of know exact that last sentiment that you touched on is how I feel. You know, I said to my wife yesterday, I said, I don't know why I'm doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Like I made a very moderate post on Instagram about sticking by my friend, whether he's right or wrong. I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna be his friend no matter what, which I feel like is a moderate stance. Like I feel like that's just the right thing to do.
Then it turns into what happens if you
And
murder
it,
someone?
and
What
I
happens
turn
if
and
this?
and I get like this massive backlash, and I'm like, man, haven't I built up enough fucking social credit in this industry? We've been doing this podcast for 5 fucking years, and we do it, and people are entertained, and people like get information, and people get to know
I feel like
certain
they're part of
body,
a community.
and and there's this community we built, and then people just throw it all out the window.
Yeah.
And it's like it's the same thing with Nick. All like I don't want to say all, but this is how I see Nick's followers. There's probably a core group that are going to ride or die with Nick.
Yep.
The problem is, I think there's this second bigger group, which is all of us have this second group that is fair weather.
Yep.
I'm going to ride with Nick while he's winning. I'm going to shit on Nick when he's down.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I'm like, to me, that's the strangest thing. It's like,
Yeah.
if you're with the guy and you like him, you can have an opinion, but like the way they shit on him and like you said, turn the screw is like, it just seems over. It seems over the top. And
So the problem that I have with it is this, right? And I don't know, maybe Eric and Paul, you guys see it this way. This is how I see it. It's one thing to bash somebody if there's factual, and I mean bash them or not, or to say something if there's factual information. The guy in the video that I posted, the guy pulled out a one Olympia because his hamstring was fucking torn. We all saw it. It was black and blue, looked like a purple fucking meat log. Okay. He backed out of the show, just like the Mike situation. Whether we argue he should have did the show or not, for whatever reason, he didn't. So that's a separate thing. But he backed out of one show. People are making it seem, people are forgetting that he won an Arnold. He won a New York Pro. He's took top 3 at the Olympia. So to say the guy is full of shit is nonsense. He's backed up 99% of the stuff that he said he was going to do. He did, besides winning an Olympia. Yet he's 30. So they make like these comments to and about him that are just not true, because he always backed up what he said. And I feel like that's the aggravating thing. And then you turn around and you talk about like the Matt situation. And like I said, whether you want to fucking say you like what Matt does or his protocols or who he is, at the end of the day, he helped Sean win 2 Olympias. He helped Nick win every show that he's competed in. He's brought guys in shape. He might have brought guys out of shape, but all of a sudden this year, he brings his guys in off. Okay. And they're fucking bashing him like he murdered somebody's
Worst coach of
family.
all time.
But I think,
You know what I mean?
but you know what's even more interesting is like we sit here and complain about this stuff, and then people also complain about it, but then they're the ones that are going to watch. Like you almost can't blame like the Greg Doucette's and all these. You almost can't blame them because it's like people are watching.
Yeah, they're making what people
like. If I make a video and I say so and so is a piece of shit, and it gets 1 million views, then I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is the formula. All I have to do is say this guy's a piece of shit, and 1 million people watch my video.
It's like news. It's the reason on the news, 90% of what's shown is murders, car crashes, fucking natural disasters, because people don't tune in to see, oh, look, somebody created a whole new like foster organization that's helped 750 kids like get off the street. It's like, oh, well, that's fucking boring. Like, where's the guy?
Where's the murders?
Eric, I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, then isn't it like for people that are complaining that the sport is not nice enough, or we're not celebrating the wins? Okay, you're getting the views and you're making money, and that's your justification. Understand. But if you want to make the sport better, shouldn't we also be showing, like I said earlier before you were on, if you go to some of these channels, every fucking title in the fucking channel is negative. And I know that's obviously to get clicks, but if you're trying to make the bodybuilding world a better place, shouldn't there be some positive ones mixed in there?
I agree.
That's like you should be like, hey, so and so got an awesome contract. Good for so and so in this company. They've merged, or so and so did this. So like they just never. I never
highlighting the negatives always.
Yeah, I never ever see like a pat on the back for anybody.
No, I agree, and I think that's why like I've tried to stray away from that as much as possible. Like if you go to my YouTube channel, it's like top 5 chest exercises, or like, here's some really good form cues for your back day that you can, and of course I know it's not going to get fucking 10 million views, or it's not going to jump off the map right away. But I try to just say, okay, like, let me be part of the solution as opposed to part of the problem. Like, yeah, it might be a slower burn in terms of growth, but I don't want to just kind of like come into this and just be part of the problem, like you said, when it comes to, negative news and rage baiting and all this stuff. I want to be kind of the antithesis of that as much as I can be, because I do think that's a huge part of the problem in the sport, just in the world in general, right? Of just focusing so much on the negative and relishing in that and feeling like, oh yeah, that person's down. Like, let's kick them. Like, let's really like, you go to Mike's page and it's just like, thousands of comments, just like,
that's why
go die kind of shit.
When Fouad made his comment about Mike, that was kind of like the full circle moment with me, because once he did that, me and Fouad we weren't talking as often as we used to, and I was like, I remember I was standing outside and I was like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, it's just so dumb. Like, they're so negative. And now I think that we're all talking and we're all talking about the negative. I think, this is going to jumpstart a lot of people's opinions and maybe start changing their views and their mindset and their posts, because it's like, I never want to hear like something that you said, Eric, like somebody go, man, like I'm really questioning competing, like because of all the negativity. Like that's disgusting to hear. But it's true, because if I was on the outside looking in and I didn't know the people that I know, I'd be like, man, these fucking people are nuts.
Yeah. That's why
I don't listen. Go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
It just kind of gets me, like I said, like I see some of these people online now, like, oh, this negativity's got to stop, and I'm not going to do any negative podcasts. Well, but you have, like what, like, I just find it hypocritical. That's all.
Yeah,
guys, I got to. We've gone way over the allotted time that Eric gave me. Eric, I'm sorry. I know you said you had like an hour, and we've been on for like an hour and a half now, and me and the guys have been on for an hour before that. So I'm gonna wrap there. Eric, is there anybody you want to thank? Anything you want to promote before you go?
More than anything, I want to just thank you guys just for having an open, informed discussion, and just really like.
Sorry.
Having
my bad.
No, you're right. Having us all feel like this can be a discussion where there are differences in opinions, but we're still like really close friends at the end of the day. Like, I'd love to become closer with all you guys. I watch your guys' videos. It's been an honor for me to be on this podcast, just because I think so highly of you guys and everything you stand for. And I think there's always more of a positive tilt to whatever's discussed than a negative one. I think there's always, credit, like there's discord, and there's also maybe calling people out when they need to be called out, but never in an abrasive or insensitive manner. So I'd love to continue to be part of the solution, so to speak. So I want to thank you guys first and foremost. Definitely, if you guys don't follow me, I'd love to, if you guys don't follow my YouTube, especially, go and check out some of my videos. You might, like I said, take away some things, still train the way you want to, but maybe you take one or two form cues and you're like, oh shit, that really helped me connect with my chest a little better, my legs or something. That would make my day. I've had people come up to me and be like, dude, your training style has really like helped me in one way or the other, whatever that is. And that's the end game for me. It's just
Helping people, bro. That's what it's about, man.
Just before we go, I want to actually show people. This is Eric's YouTube. If you want to get more information on training, it's Eric Janicki Fitness, at Eric Janicki Fitness on YouTube. And the first video is him hating on us.
It's for you though. That's not my
I
last
know. I'm just joking. But yeah, no, go to his page. I'm sure he's got a lot of great training information that he can help with. Also, if you want to follow him on Instagram, Eric Janicki Fitness, HTLT Subs co-owner, Transcend HRT, Young LA, code Janicki. You guys can find him on those two pages, and I'm sure other places. Eric, thank you very much for taking the time. Guy, it's fucking awesome to have you back. And Paul, I'm going to kick your ass in the gym in like an hour. So
Yeah.
boys. Go get them. Lots of time and attention. Lots of range of motion.
we're going to go real slow. Just isolations and super slow today. It's all we're going to do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Stand
see
in front of that cable for an hour.
Someone's gonna
I'll post
screenshot Fouad swiping through one of my carousel workouts and doing all the exercises.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm going to do today. All right.
We go.
I love you guys. We'll,
All right, love you
we'll
guys.
talk to you.